I came back to Hollow County with red dirt under my nails from the grave and a ring of keys that didn't want
Molly
me.
Baker.
The trailer crouched the way a stray dog sleeps, ready to run if you call it a home. Dad's '92 Ford sat where rust goes to church. The door fought the key, the floor remembered my weight, and the air had the old recipe. Coffee gone bitter, gun oil, paper dust. This door is a wall, Dad used to say, tapping the latch like a preacher. Don't let the night flatter you. Back then I thought it was theater. At 30, holding a death program with Francis Baker, 58, in black serif, the lines came back like chores I'd skipped. I walked the rooms by habit, tally labels, check the shotgun, align the curtains so no one outside could learn the shape of us. In my old bedroom, the bed still wore hospital corners. The wall still remembered where my poster had been, and refused to forgive the sun for the square. I told myself I came to sort and sell and leave. The house just breathed like it knew the real verb was carry. Under the threadbare rug in Dad's room, a board clicked wrong. Beneath it lay a leather journal wrapped in oilcloth, the smell of old wallets and raincoats.
The court rejects this motion.
Inside, Molly Baker, my grandmother's hand, tight, crowded script that didn't care if my eyes were tired. Charcoal diagrams, circles of symbols that would be silly if they didn't sit so still. Then the drawings, too many elbows, faces that couldn't keep their distance from teeth. A shadow so carefully shaded it felt like a hole you could drop a coin into and never hear it land. Beneath one circle, the summoning, success at last. My phone shook me. Crystal's name flashed like someplace clean. She hadn't met Dad. I'd always made sure we were busy when holidays came. The factory in Nashville had folded us into the kind of future you hold at arm's length. Maybe we stay at your dad's for a while, she'd offered last week, gentle as a clean sheet. Standing with Molly's book in my lap, I said the thing men say when they love someone they plan to endanger. It could work. That night I locked the door and then locked it again because my hands knew more than my opinion. I ate beans with the old ham Dad believed in, checked the windows, set the shotgun within reach, and told the empty chair what I wasn't afraid of. The woods went noisier and then remembered its manners. Somewhere a branch made a story. Sometime later I slept because bodies are unionized. And then at 2:17, 3 knocks even measured on the front door. Every nerve in me stood like a boy in a line. If you ever hear 3 knocks, don't answer. Dad's voice didn't sound like memory, it sounded like a wall. I lay still, counting my breath so it couldn't be borrowed. Roman. Dad again,
the court rejects this
tobacco
motion.
drag of his vowels. Son, I forgot to tell you something important. The word important hit hard on the first syllable the way only he ever did. I had put dirt on his box with my own hand. My chest tried to do the smaller math of grief and found a bigger equation waiting. I know you're in there. Mild as coffee. It's about your grandmother's journal. I did not move. The quiet learned my name anyway. The voice cycled through the catalog, patience, urgency, shame. Then, like a coin, dropped soft, a promise. I'll come back tomorrow, son. We need to talk about what's in those woods. Dawn felt like a tired apology. I made coffee and waited to tell myself I'd imagined it, then didn't.
Hush hour.
The words "this door is a wall" came clean out of my mouth without being asked. Crystal pulled into the yard that afternoon, smile on and hunger for a new start tucked into the trunk with the cookware she trusts. Her presence rearranged the air. A house can look at a woman the way an old dog does, defensive and hopeful at once. We carried boxes. It's shelter, I said, which was true. It's free, she said, which mattered. She set a plant on the sill and made the couch look like furniture with a blanket. She peeled a corner of wallpaper without meaning to, and the wall sighed out the symbols Molly had carved years ago, curved lines and eyes nested in circles. "What are these?" Crystal asked, fingertip tracing what had once been private. "Decoration," I lied, because love deserves furniture and children, not glyphs that argue with sleep. Evening went gentle until it didn't. We ate
The court
outside.
rejects this motion.
The last light thinned and left the yard looking older than it had. "Do you ever feel watched out here?" she asked. I gave her deer and coyotes, and I gave her laughter and borrowed the rest from the dark. Inside, she washed 2 plates and I checked the locks and tried not to look like a man inventorying his options.
See you,
"Tomorrow we can get a hot spot in town," she said. The way she said future always made me believe in it. We brushed our teeth in the bathroom that still smelled like my father's soap. She stood a moment at the window, curtains pinched back, staring into the black like she was reading print. "Roman, did you just say my name from outside?" "No," I said, and the way my voice carried made both of us older.
Hush hour.
We were barely settled when it came, the knock 3, and then Crystal's voice at the bedroom window, perfect in the tiny ways only I would catch.
Knock, knock, knock,
"Crystal,
knock,
are
knock.
you in there? Please, I need help." She jerked upright in the bed, eyes wide as a challenge. "That's my voice," she said. "I know," I said. "Don't answer." Her fear turned to anger like a muscle does. "Call the sheriff," she said. "It's a sick prank." I caught her wrist and hated myself. The window spoke again, Dad, then me, then Crystal pleading over Crystal accusing. A chorus cut from our lives. The trailer became a bell with our names for clappers. I told her everything badly. She fought me because she is brave. Her phone hit the floor and lost the world. The voices copied our last 10 seconds line for line and gave them back to us. It is startling to hear your argument replayed as a threat. We lasted until dawn because people can. The thing gave up
The court
first, or
rejects this motion.
pretended to. The silence it left was not empty. It was full of arithmetic. "Is it gone?" she asked. "For now," I said, and we both heard the then. Morning found her already packed. I tried to put sense into a window that wanted air. She stared at me like a hallway she'd forgotten how to walk. I showed her Molly's journal and what it drew and what it promised. She showed me the shape of a boundary. "You held me down," she said. "You broke my phone." She was right. I put the sheriff's name on the table like an offering. "Let him say it," I said. "He knows the old weather." She agreed because she is fair. Fair is a door if you let it be. Sheriff Bradley listened with his jaw and some other part of him that voted yes a long time ago. He asked Crystal to wait in the hall and told me what his grandfather had told him in 1952 about 3 men found in the woods, about a bear whose teeth had learned calligraphy. "I don't put superstition in reports," he said, "but I don't set foot in those woods either." He did not bless me. He warned me, and it felt like mercy with a badge. He told Crystal enough that she could feel patronized by the truth. She asked me to take her to her car. I did. She looked at me and did a terrible, kind thing. "I think you believe what you're saying." Then she left and took the easy future with her, because that is how you save a person you love from a house that wants to teach you calculus with voices. After she was gone, the place made a new sound. The sound of something waiting without pretending otherwise. I walked the trailer and said rules no one had taught me yet. This door is a wall.
The court rejects this motion.
This name is withdrawn. We refuse to be flattered by our dead. I set Molly's book on the table, the shotgun under the bed, and the memory of Crystal's elbow in flour back where it belongs. Night learned my schedule and knocked on it. 3 beats, then Dad, then Crystal, then me, then all of us together. The woods said tomorrow like a man selling a used car. I couldn't tell if the thing was patient or unemployed. On the third night, I did what grief and fear make you good
Molly
at.
Baker.
I prepared. I found Dad's paste and salt and herbs labeled in his careful block letters. I drew the circle the journal asked for and said the words out of a mouth that didn't want to. I planned to trap something from the outside and discovered something from the inside raising its head in mine. When the power shivered and the chalk lines glowed like wet bone, an answer came that had my face on it. The entity changed as it crossed the circle, flickering shape to shape. Dad, Molly, me, Crystal, like a dealer shuffling truths. When it settled, the features were mine, but simpler, honest in the wrong way. Something tore in me and bridged. History poured through. Molly, young and hunted by the man who gave my father his last name, drawing in blood, promising safety for a price the world always collects. She didn't summon a demon, she split a life. She took a shadow from our line and told it to watch the door. It obeyed badly and forever. "I am you," it said in my exact mouth. And the words fell into the circle like a coin into a well that didn't send your wish back. I saw exactly how the math
The
worked.
court rejects this motion.
I also saw exactly how it ends for men who think the only arithmetic is subtraction. Fire would do it, take us both and leave the county quieter. The thought came calm like a bus schedule. I got the gas. I soaked the wood. I drew the last symbol and opened my hand, and it hurt, and it was supposed to.
See you,
Before the
Weatherhound.
match, I called Crystal to hear the sound my house couldn't copy. She answered sleepy and worried and human and said my name the way a window opens, which
Molly
is to
Baker.
say on purpose. I told her I loved her, which is the sentence that always ruins and saves the same life. I set the phone down and struck the match. The flames learned fast because I had taught them. They took the trailer and the circle and the thing that was me, and I felt my pain reflected and returned with interest. It didn't even scream, not the way animals do. It sounded like a hinge closing for the last time. I thought I was ending it the only way men in my family know how to end a thing. The match burned past my fingers, and I woke staring at the ceiling fan of a house that had not burned, because the story you just read is the one I almost chose. In the one I'm still in, the fire stayed in the can, and the circle held just long enough for me to understand that killing a shadow kills the light that throws it. Mercy measured is how you change a county. I put the gas back in the shed. I chalked a single new line where my knees would feel it every time I went out or came in. This kindness is not a door. Then I sat at the table with Molly's journal and the sheriff's history and
The court
waited for
rejects this
Doris to
motion.
knock the way the good arrives. Once, in daylight, with a casserole and a plan. Outside, the woods practiced my father's vowels in the wrong order and promised tomorrow as if it owned the calendar. I said nothing. I learned to blink on the beat the roof uses in rain, because closing your eyes is
See you,
consent if you
Weatherhound.
teach it wrong. The dog I hadn't named yet came out of the tree line, looked at my porch, and decided to help a stranger. He lay across the threshold
Baker.
with his spine touching the chalk and his nose toward the woods. Guard, not scout. And in that exact moment, the house understood what I wanted it to be. Doris knocked the way daylight knocks. 3 polite taps from a neighbor, not the measured metronome the woods keeps. She stood on my porch with a brown paper bag hugged to her ribs like it held a pie instead of whatever keeps a house alive. "You're Roman," she said. "I'm Doris. I brought house rules, not charms. Charms invite things. Rules make them sign." She moved through the kitchen like the cabinets already knew her. From the bag she laid out plain tools. A small brass bell with a leather loop, red twine, a little wire ring the size of a bakery tag, chalk, gaffer's tape, and a square of aluminum foil. She pressed the foil under tape to my sternum, just below the collarbone. "Your cool eye," she said. "When the room runs hot, this stays creak cold. Trust it over fear." On the porch lattice, she clipped up lunch bag paper and wrote, in block black you could read across a yard, "This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn.
The court rejects
We
this
refuse
motion.
to be flattered by our dead. This kindness is not a door. Spoken rules stand in wood," she said. "Words you read out loud are nails." She tied the bell to the lattice with the red twine, looped the free end loose around my wrist. "Bell line," she said. "When we step off the porch, the house keeps holding hands."
See
She
you,
lifted the
Weatherhound.
wire ring with a thumb and forefinger. Portable ring. You carry a slice of home where fences get slippery. She slipped it into my shirt pocket until it warmed against the cotton
Molly
like
Baker.
a useful coin. "Now your blink," she said. "My what?" "Close your eyes wrong and it counts as consent." She tapped the eave. "Match the old roof drip, 5, then 7. Lids left, right, left, right, left. Then left, right, left, right,
Cái
left,
viết này
right,
nó không
left.
đúng.
Keep the beat with the words, not slash yours. It felt foolish until I faced the trees. The rhythm lined up with something older than my opinions. I blinked 5, then 7, and felt the yard change, not safe, but legible. Doris set a small glass jar with holes punched in the lid on the rail and chalked the label. "This kindness is not a door." "You'll want to say thank you to the wrong mouth," she said. "Put the gratitude in the jar. Keep the gesture. Don't pay with your keys." The bell gave a very small answer, no human hand. We turned together. At the edge of the grass lay a wrapped lemon drop, bright as an apology. Doris smiled without giving it the pleasure. "There it is, the fairness lure." I lifted the jar, unscrewed the lid, and, feeling ridiculous and correct, placed my thank you into the jar instead
The
of
court
into the
rejects
trees.
this motion.
I tightened the lid. The candy stayed on the ground, ignored by both of us. You don't need to kick a trap to stop it. You just have to refuse its currency. Near noon, Sheriff Bradley rolled to a stop at the road and killed the siren that lives in every badge. He stayed outside the paste line and the
See you,
chalk,
Weatherhound.
2 inches of law that lets help remain itself. He held up a page torn from an old ledger, pencil faint, edges furred. "Granddad's note," he said, reading slow enough the county
Molly
could
Baker.
hear. "Boy does not blink slash because rain taught him not men. 5-7 rhythm in storms. Me taps the table. Your blink is a counterweight if you tie it to weather," he said. "Not to fear." Doris looked at me, looked at the woods. "Let's take
Cái
the
viết này
house
nó
for
không
a
đúng.
walk." We stepped off, shoulders turned toward the timber line, the portable ring warm in my pocket, the bell line a soft hum at my wrist. The yard moved with us, not boards, but jurisdiction. 3 paces forward, 1 to the left. The dog trotted ahead just far enough to pretend he was aimless. At the ditch where kids cut through, a boy stood ankle deep, sneaker trapped in mud, eyes big with the good troubles that make adults rush. "Mister, please," he called. My body volunteered. Doris pinched the bell line. "Rule first," she said, "then kindness." I planted the portable ring like a tiny gate between us, blinked 5-7, and asked without moving closer, "Where did your name withdraw to?" The boy blinked wrong, out of time. The mud on his shoe didn't carry the weight of real dirt. It carried my idea of dirt. I lifted the
court
kindness
rejects this
jar,
motion.
framed it with both hands, and spoke into the glass. "Thank you for the warning. Not to the woods, to the jar." The boy's face slid off like a film pulled in reverse. When it was over, there were only reeds, hoof prints, and a trespass path I'd always meant to fix. "See," Doris said, "kindness is a thing to store,
See
not a
you,
door to
Weatherhound.
open." Crystal called that afternoon. The bell line ticked once against my wrist, a private semaphore. I answered inside the portable ring, shoulder turned, lids on rhythm. Her voice stayed human, warm, a little lazy, smiling at the end of sentences the way she does without permission from her mouth. The woods listened but didn't crowd. "You okay?" she asked.
Hush hour.
My heart wanted to pour. Doris gave a tiny nod toward enough. "I'm here." "Enough," I said, and meant it exactly.
Knock, knock, knock,
Night
knock,
brought
knock.
the 3 knocks, even and honest about the wrong job they do. Dad's voice, then Crystal's, then mine. Then all of us layered into something like a family portrait if you squint wrong. This time it added reason. "Just a crack," it said. "Be fair." Bradley tapped his bell at the road, one clean note in a 3-1 pattern, law's way of saying you studied this. I blinked 5-7 until the foil on my chest cooled another shade. My nose stayed in my eyelids where bargains can't reach. The door remembered it was a wall. At dawn, Doris brought a name ladder, a small card on a clip with 2 printed names, Doris Roman. "Passing the handle," she said. "Where voices get stolen, we declare, I am Doris, I am Roman." The
court
wrong
rejects
mouth
this motion.
grabs the card, not the throat. We practiced the childish game of trading names until it felt boring and safe, which is the goal. She gestured to the paste line around the porch. "Tomorrow we'll move the boundary out to the birches, just 2 chalk hooks facing in, not a siege, a breath." Right then the west wind cut out, not faded,
See you,
stopped.
Weatherhound.
The way a hand over a mouth stops words. Every leaf held its place. Every insect swallowed its own hymn. The stillness was beautiful in a way the wrong gifts are. "Unfair gift," the woods said pleasantly. "No price now, your paste will cure, your chalk will behave. Later put one first in a box and never open it again. Not eaten, not gone boxed. You may keep its shape, date, and shadow, fairness, Roman." Doris kept her eyes on me, not the trees. "Don't thank it," she said. "Write it down."
Knock, knock,
We
knock,
opened
knock,
a small
knock, knock.
weather ledger. I wrote, "Today's west wind belongs to the woods. Return due at dusk. No memory collateral. Nobody." I slid the page under the portable ring so geometry could guard it. "You insult me," the woods laughed. "You promised unfair," I said. "I'm accepting exactly that." The stillness held. We worked fast. I chalked 2 inward hooks on the birches, paste set quick in the false calm, and I pressed a flattened beer cap into the line, scratching ledger weather beside it so some kid someday would get curious at the right time. At dusk, the first honest stirring returned, like a library book slipped through a slot without conversation. The bell line touched my wrist once, then went quiet. The porch
court
papers
rejects this
lifted
motion.
and settled like heads nodding after a prayer. No loop that night, no bargaining, just one sober thump from a joist under the porch, the sound of a ledger closing for the day. Before she left, Doris handed me a tin with tiny latches, nail-polished letters across the lid, escrow. "Tomorrow,"
See you,
she
Weatherhound.
said, "we learn to bank a memory clean, not to erase, to keep it breathing without letting anything by it. The woods loves a bargain made from what you remember." Bradley waited down at the road, exactly where help should be, close enough to ring, far enough to refrain. The dog stretched, then lay his spine across the paste line like a living sentence that ended with period, not question. The trees had learned my schedule, my vowels, my speed. They were practicing politeness with teeth. I went inside and recited the 4 like a ticket inspector punches stubs. "This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. We refuse to be flattered by our dead. This kindness is not a door." My lids kept the roof's old beat, 5, then 7, so my mouth wouldn't go shopping with my life. Last thing before sleep, I opened the tin of lures and lies and wrote on the underside of the lid so the metal would keep it truer than I could. Gifts that cost a memory are fines. Outside, the woods heard and couldn't use it. Inside, the house put the sentence where it belongs. Low, sturdy, reachable by the bones that carry you in and out. Morning turned the porch into columns of light with totals due in dust. The dog lay across the paste line like a living sentence that reads stay.
The court
I
rejects
walked the
this
rules
motion.
under my breath. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Doris came back with a brown paper sack and a chain of brass binder clips. From the sack she set out a battered tin labeled in nail polish, escrow. Inside, onion skin sheets, a carbon, a glassine envelope, a wax seal, a stub of blue pencil. Yesterday we banked weather, she said. Today we bank what the woods really wants, memory. Not the taste, not the names, just the outline. You'll be able to speak the shape without spending the life. I wrote, kitchen, November gray, Crystal's elbow in flour. Radio wrong, then right. Doris made a carbon twin, sealed one in glassine, tied it to my bell line so the house itself held custody. The twin slid under my portable ring. If it asks for payment, she said, show the receipt. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road, the bell on his dash like a small church that rings only for arithmetic. 2 inches of law, he called. I'll stay where help stays. We stepped off with the house walking our shoulder, 3 forward, 1 left, bell line humming faintly, portable ring warm in my pocket. The dog scouted 5 yards ahead, pretending not to guard us. At the deadfall classroom, a tornadoed pine laid across sassafras. The inner bark had sloughed off to a clean, pale page. Wind moved like a teacher who wants you to pass. Doris clipped the name ladder Doris Roman Sheriff to a twig so geometry could be in charge. The woods didn't knock, it set out a test. On the bright wood, words
The court
rose
rejects
in
this motion.
gloss. 1, this door is a wall. 2, this name is withdrawn. 3, this hinge refuses to sing. 4, we refuse to be flattered by our dead. 5, this kindness is not a door. 6, fair is a lure. 7, memory is not currency. 8, weather is on loan. 9, nobody is home.
See you, weather
10,
hound.
this house walks with its shoulder. 11, say please. Open book, the timberline said, cheerful as a trap with good manners. Mark which are walls and which are doors pretending to be walls. We laid our ledger on the pine shelf. Doris set the escrow tin atop it to keep want from blowing around. I chalked wall beside 1, 8, and 10, bread and butter doctrine. Beside 9, I chalked KEY. Nobody is home works until a child needs in, I said.
Knock,
Not
knock,
a wall,
knock, knock,
a
knock.
key you loan and track. I left 11 bare. SAY please glowed the way true words do when they've opened more right doors than wrong. Say it, Doris murmured. It's a door, I chalked, small but committed. A beautiful key for people, but if we hang it on the woods, every wall becomes a door you can argue open. The letters darkened, accepting the grade like sugar taking heat. A 12th line bled up, sweet and dangerous. 12. Home is anywhere you are loved. Mark that. The woods said smug. Wall and you'll die guarding poetry. Door and you'll sleep outside your life. Mask and you'll teach lying about shelter. I opened the ledger to weather is on loan, due at dusk, laid my onion skin outline on top, kitchen. November gray, rang the bell
court
once,
rejects
then
this
chalked
motion.
a 4th option. Window. Defend, the woods demanded. A window is a wall that can tell time, I said. Opens on purpose, closes on purpose, honors the due. Home can be anywhere love is, but love that doesn't keep weather books is a flood. Doors get flattered, windows get measured. The wind
you,
stirred
Weatherhound.
like a grade book closing. On the pine page, 110 held, 11 wore door, 12 held window. The deadfall looked satisfied, as if it had waited years for that margin note. Open book passed, the timberline said. How do we carry this? I asked. Doris rolled the ledger copy and onion skin under the portable ring and patted my pocket. Portable scripture.
Hush hour.
Back at the porch, we chalked low where shins and tired eyes can read without problem. Home is a window, due at dusk.
Knock, knock,
Under it
knock,
smaller.
knock, knock,
Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Bradley lifted 2 fingers at the road. His dash bell gave 1 clean note and went quiet. That night there was no loop, no bargaining, just a single, heavy thump from a joist under the porch like a ledger closing for the day. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge, lids keeping the roof's old rhythm, 5 on the west, 7 on the gutter that wasn't dripping, so my mouth wouldn't spend what my eyes could save. Dawn brought a new kindness with teeth. The trees produced an old sash window in their own edge, ripple glass, paint just right. It lifted itself 1 polite inch, breathing a coolness the day hadn't earned. A window you don't have to chalk, the woods said. No due date, no
The court
ledger,
rejects this
just
motion.
relief. Doris tied a tiny envelope to my bellline, live escrow, and set a small corked vial in my palm. Today we escrow a feeling, she said. Relief lawful. Describe its edges, where it sits, what it weighs. No names, no weather. Breathe once into the vial. I wrote in blue
Weatherhound.
pencil, chest under collarbone, light, insisting, makes hands open instead of clench, asks for rest without a fee. I breathed, corked. We lifted the vial and its label into the fake
Molly
breeze.
Baker.
We've got relief on deposit, I told the woods. The counterfeit window paused, then closed itself the way good machines do, measured, not offended. We ate bread with honey, saved 1 lemon drop
Hush
in the
hour.
kindness jar, and watched the dog decide who he was. He settled with his spine on the chalk, nose toward the trees,
knock, knock,
guard,
knock, knock,
not
knock.
scout. The house felt more like itself than at any time since Dad's box touched red clay. I dreamed the deadfall with a cutout window in the middle of the page, opening and closing on time because due is due. Morning would bring a harder copy, my life inside a fake frame. But I had a paper outline, a glass breath, and a bell that answered to 3 names. For the first time, relief didn't feel like a purchase. It felt like a room. By late morning, the porch had done its math, light in ledgered squares, dust settling like paid stamps. The dog lay half in sun, half in shade, spine exactly on the paste line as if to remind the day it wasn't allowed to guess. I read the rules low so the boards could hear
The
them
court
and not
rejects
get
this
jealous
motion.
of my mouth. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Home is a window, due at dusk. Sheriff Bradley rolled up to the road and didn't cross the boundary. He held a folded sheet like whether he'd trapped with a hand. Brittle ledger paper, pencil square
Weatherhound.
handwriting from 1952. Under it, a slanted margin note in a different hand, tight, taught late at night. Granddad's partner, he said, wrote what
Molly
the
Baker.
report wouldn't. He read, slow enough the trees had to listen. Circle moved 2 inches right of true by woman's foot. Reason, child sleeping inside circle line, crib against east wall. 2 inches keeps ember fall away from crib. She said, I ain't moving for the thing. I'm moving for the ball. Later, 2 inches lets law step in if I fail. Deputies guess, mercy and warn. Below that faint, added later, 2 inches is where a door decides not to be. Warrant, I asked. Not arrest, Bradley said. Permission for the badge to act without joining the work. Step in, lift the baby back out, stay clean. He tapped the road dust with his boot toe. My job lives in inches. Doris arrived with her paper bag and teacher's patience. 2 inches, she said, hearing the tale of the story. Good, tonight we put it on the house. She clipped up a fresh card on the lattice named Ladder Expanded, Doris Roman Sheriff. Brass clips snapped like polite decisions. We also add a rule the house already knows, she said, chalking low on the sill where shins and dogs will read it first. Masks have timers.
The court rejects this motion.
Keys have ledgers. You've got a mask if it won't keep time, she said. You've got a key if you can sign it out and get it back. We walked the shoulder count to the deadfall classroom to see if the page we'd made yesterday held in daylight. It had. 110 still bright. Say please equals door. Home is anywhere you are. Loved equals window. The letters looked less like magic and more like policy. On our way back, the Woods tried simple kindness again. A small tin soldier in the grass, blue paint flaking. The kind of detail that hits boys in men's bodies. I lifted the kindness jar, unscrewed the lid, and put the urge to say thank you into glass where it could breathe without spending us.
Hush hour.
The soldier stayed. The day didn't wobble. By late afternoon, wind kept its appointment so exactly the bellline throbbed once in approval.
Knock.
We ate early bread, honey, a little ham from Dad's stash, and saved the last lemon drop in the jar as a reminder. Pleasure doesn't have deed rights here. Then the Woods delivered the test it had promised. Not a knock, a window. Same antique sash's dawn, but now it showed my kitchen inside its glass, the one that actually belonged to the trailer. November gray light, Crystal's elbow in flour, the radio wrong, then right. The smell of heat you only get from a coil that has been old for a very long time. The pane breathed cool the way memory edits weather. A window you don't have to chalk, it said, pleased with its homework. A window that knows you already. Borrow, Roman. Or be fair, let me carry it for you. Relief belongs to the tired.
The court rejects this motion.
That last sentence was almost kind enough to break a small bone. Doris tapped my wrist. The little live escrow vial thumped back. I lifted it, the onion skin label visible in the slant light. Relief, lawful chest under collarbone. Light, insisting. Hands open instead of clenched. Asks for rest without a fee.
See you, Weatherhound.
We've got relief on deposit, I said to the vial, not to the trees. Due at dusk all the same. The counterfeit breeze faltered. What's owed? It asked, tone polite, teeth covered. Weather is on loan, I said. Windows belong to houses. I can borrow wind, I can't borrow home. Split the difference, it coaxed. 2 inches. Doris didn't smile. That's where law stands, not you.
Hush hour.
Out at the road, Bradley's bell gave one clean note and stopped. He raised an open palm. I'm here, I won't step wrong. I blinked 5, then 7. So consent couldn't sneak into my face. Window, I said evenly. Not mine, due at dusk. The fake sash closed itself like a good machine shutting down. No sulk, no slam, just measure. The picture of my kitchen stayed in my head where it belongs. The glass showed only trees again, the honest kind. The dog, who had been pretending to sleep, got up, walked to the birches, looked out, not back. Then returned and lay so his spine touched the chalk and his nose pointed at the timberline. On some maps you mark lines. On better maps you mark lives. He marked hours. Doris unrolled new paper and snapped 2 more clips to the lattice. We finished the Sill Doctrine, she said, handwriting small and stubborn.
The court rejects this motion.
Relief is a room, not a purchase. Under it in pencil so the day could smudge and learn. Nobody is home equals mask unless a child knocks. This one will save you an argument, she said. People forget nobody is a tool, not a lifestyle. Sundown balanced exactly. The first honest stir in the
See
leaves
you,
came
Weatherhound.
on time. I felt it pass through the bell line into the bones of the porch like a receipt stamped paid. The dog sneezed once and looked proud of it. As dusk settled, Bradley stepped forward just enough his boots flirted with chalk. 2 inches, he said softly, looking at the sill. That's my side. If you need a hand that doesn't accidentally pray, you call. Stay clean, Doris told him.
Hush
He
hour.
nodded, part promise, part relief. Night rose without drama. At the usual hour, the house gave one slow, joyous
Knock,
thump,
knock, knock,
the
knock,
sound
knock.
of a ledger closing. And then the timberline spoke once, not from any particular mouth, but with the even tone of a clerk. Window acknowledged. See you between weather. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't friendship. It was a term sheet, and I could live inside a term sheet. Before sleep, I stood at the threshold and recited the rules the way you read back an agreement before you sign. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. We refuse to be flattered by our dead. This kindness is not a door. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers, keys have ledgers. I touched the foil cool eye on my chest. It stayed creak cold. My lids kept the roof's rhythm, 5 on the west, 7 on the gutter that wasn't
The court
dripping,
rejects this motion.
so my mouth wouldn't go shopping with my life. The dog snored like a clerk who trusts the books. Out in Memphis, where crystals slept, a plant on a windowsill decided to keep living. I liked the arithmetic of that. Morning would ask something new, probably with a smile on it. We had 2 inches of law,
See you,
a
Weatherhound.
bell that answered to 3 names, a jar for kindness, a ledger for weather, and a vial that kept relief from arriving with strings. For a county like ours, that's not a miracle. That's capacity. By noon, the house had counted us in and the day out. The dog dozed with one ear open, spine on the paste line like a bookmark. I read the sill where Doris's handwriting lived low and stubborn. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. The bell line on my wrist hummed once, house saying present, just as a car coughed to a stop at the end of the lane. A woman stood beside it, waving. Overheated, she called. Her voice had the roundness of somebody who'd borrowed sugar from neighbors all her life. Could I, just a little water? Doris appeared on the porch as if the house had sent for her. She palmed the kindness jar, eyes on my face, not the road. We can help, she said quietly, but we don't pay. We walked down together with the portable ring in my pocket and my lids keeping 5-7 so consent couldn't freeload. The woman, blue dress, practical shoes, had a smile that hit
The court
modest
rejects
first.
this motion.
Bless you, she said, hands at her throat. Close up, the heat shimmer around her wasn't over the hood, it sat behind her eyes. Where's your name? I asked, easy as weather talk. She blinked offbeat. Mrs. Lane, she said quickly, a name built like a cul-de-sac. Which church? Doris asked, handing me the jar.
See you, Weatherhound.
First, the woman said, then forgot to tack on a denomination the way only a mouth with no county forgets. I unscrewed the lid and spoke into glass. Thank you for arriving when we're practicing. I said to the jar, not the woman. We'll keep the kindness. I screwed the lid on. The heat shimmer tore along a seam and folded in. Mrs. Lane became distance, then breeze, then the gravel as if an afternoon had exhaled. The car was never there. The road looked pleased with itself. Fair doesn't mean welcome, Doris said. Put the urge in escrow and let the county keep its shape. Back on the porch, she set out the escrow tin and a fresh onion skin titled First's outline only. The woods will bargain for a first, she said. First kiss, first bruise, first everything. We'll outline a legal first and keep the flavor off the page. I wrote, first roof leak caught with a pot, drip measured by lullaby. Not sad, instructive. She carboned it, slid one into glassine, tied it to the bell line. Now if it asks for firsts, we show a receipt no one gets drunk on. By late afternoon, we moved the boundary out clean to the birches. 2 chalk hooks faced in, not out. A breath, not a siege. The dog trotted the new line and approved with a sneeze.
The court rejects this motion.
Bradley parked where law keeps its boots. County clerk called, he said. Town's talk says your porch writes sermons. He set a small box on the tape-scarred table, a hand bell, the kind classrooms used to trust. If you need a ring that isn't mine, use this. 2 inches still applies. Ring from inside your inches, not mine. The bell fit my hand like a faithful argument. I added a line under the Sill Doctrine where only shins can read it without pride. Sheriff rings from his side. We ring from ours. We ate early, bread, ham, honey in a saucer, and saved the lemon drop we hadn't earned. Heat laid down like a tired dog. A sparrow pinballed through the lattice as if the yard and the sky had a bet going. The phone rang at twilight. Crystal lit the screen. I answered standing inside the portable ring, lids on beat. Hey, she said, my name in her mouth exactly right, but somehow close-mic'd like she was too near a microphone that wasn't there. Been thinking about us. Let's meet at Malone's, 8 o'clock, our favorite. We don't have a Malone's. We never had a favorite. The house felt my back stiffen. The bell line cooled on my wrist. Sounds right, I said, testing the scene. What's on the wall by the register? Pictures, she said too fast, of baseball, not the cat with the missing ear. I asked because once at a hardware store in Nolansville, she'd loved a one-eared shop cat so hard she cried after we left. Oh yes, she said, catching up. The cat, that one. I let silence do the grading. Doris's finger flicked twice, name ladder. I pinched the clip on my collar. I'm
The court
Roman,
rejects
I
this
said,
motion.
and heard the line on the other end delay half a second into my sentence, as if it needed a moment to put my mouth on. I'm Crystal, it said, and the echo between our 2 I ams hit wrong, 2 keys almost tuned. I'll drive now, I said gently. Due at dusk. The line hung open long enough to listen to its own mistake.
See you, Weatherhound.
Then it clicked like a trap that learned something and didn't like the lesson. Phones in play now, Bradley called from the road, hearing nothing and everything. Keep your inches. Full dark as if the county had finished a sentence. We sat on the porch with the hand bell between us. The woods skipped the knock, skipped the voices, and went straight to the picture. A window rose at the tree line with our kitchen inside it just as it is when we are in it. Her elbow in flour, my shoulder at the hinge, November's kind of gray that forgives old laminate. The cool that drifted out smelled like bread that doesn't exist. 2 inches, it said pleasantly. Borrow what's already yours, be fair. Fair's a lure, I said, lids keeping the roof's count. I lifted the live escrow vial, relief lawful. We've got relief on deposit. The fake pain breathed in, annoyed like a machine in need of oil. What about firsts? It asked. Give me one, outlined if you insist. Doris slid the onion skin firsts under my palm. I read aloud, careful and flat, first roof leak. Drip as metronome, not sad, instructive. That's not worth anything, it said, a little disgust in the velvet. That's why it's legal, Doris said. No flavors, no weather, no names. You asked for first, you got a first.
The court rejects this motion.
The tree line considered. Wind returned on time with a thin, correct stirring that carried no music, only agreement. The fake window clicked itself shut 1 inch at a time. Roman, the woods said after a long quiet, almost friendly, you carry too many receipts. Paper cuts bleed. That's why we keep a tin, I said, resting a hand on escrow. Holds the sharp for us. The joist under the porch gave its ledger thump. Not hostile, not warm, like a book closing to save the page. The dog stood, trotted to the birches, peed in the exact middle of the new line with bureaucratic accuracy, then came back and lay so his nose pointed at the dark. He looked satisfied with management. We wrote 2 more lines low on the sill while the night pretended not to read over our shoulder. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Bradley lifted a palm. That one will age well, he said. Inside, I set the handbell on the table and put my palm over it to learn its weight. It wasn't heavy. Some tools refuse drama on purpose. Before sleep, I called the real Crystal and got her voicemail. A warm, messy human thing. Even the way she says leave a message sounded like our kitchen at 2 a.m. I didn't speak. I let the no message sit there as an answer that didn't invite purchase. The woods said between weather once far off, like a timetable read aloud by a clerk. The house answered by being a house. We had our inches. We had our ledgers. We had a jar for kindness and a breath in glass for relief.
The court rejects
Tomorrow
this
it
motion.
would try memory with garnish or law with perfume. It could. We had room for the attempt. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge and my lids on 5-7, counting a gutter that didn't drip in a county that had finally remembered how. By mid-morning, the porch had balanced its books. Sunlight in tidy squares, dust where pennies of time settle. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, pretending to nap the way guards pretend to be furniture. I read the sill so the house, not the woods, would carry the sound. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fare is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Sheriff Bradley rolled up and stayed where law's 2 inches live. He lifted a narrow wooden box from his passenger seat, the kind that might hold a harmonica or a pocket Bible. Inside, 3 ribbons of oiled canvas, each stamped in ink. Warren of hand, Warren of ring, Warren of bell. Granddad's kit, he said, for stepping close without stepping in. Hand is for lifting a person. Ring is for carrying house 2 steps beyond paste. Bell is for calling help without buying it. He looked at my sill and smiled, small. County used to have words for this before it got embarrassed. Doris arrived with her bag like a deacon with coffee. She read the ribbons, nodded like a craftsman admiring old joinery. We'll set call signs
The court rejects
before we
this
use
motion.
warrants, she said. She clipped up a fresh name ladder on the lattice, expanded again, Doris Roman Sheriff House. Then she chalked low where only shins and dogs read. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires 2 signatures. 2 signatures, I asked. 1 human, 1 house, she said. We'll never sign alone. She put the handbell in my palm and tapped the brass lip with a fingernail. Call and response, 2 short, 1 long means law may approach to its inches. Answer with 1 long, 2 short if the house consents. If the sheriff doesn't hear the answer, he stays back even if angels cry. Bradley raised the dash bell and echoed the pattern. The little exchange sat in the air like a fence you could only hear. We drilled. Name ladder, we passed the handle back and forth. I'm Doris. I'm Roman. I'm Sheriff. I'm House. The woods hates pronouns that don't move. Portable ring, how to plant it, how to move it without breaking the circle our bodies were making. Live escrow, the vial of relief. Lawful thumped my wrist like a heartbeat that belonged to rulers. At noon, the first test walked out of the timberline wearing a voice it thought was new. A teenage boy, throat still finding baritone, breath clipped by panic. "Help," he called from beyond the birches. "Please, snake-bit, please." The dog stood but didn't break the line. Doris pinched the bell line on my wrist. Too short, one long, I rang. At the road, Bradley answered with one long, too short, and stayed put, ready inside his inches. We carried Warren of Ring to the chalk hooks and clipped it
The
just
court
left
rejects
of
this
center.
motion.
Doris placed the portable ring on the ground like a door laid flat. "Say the shape, not the story," she reminded me. "Adolescent male," I said, eyes on the birches, lids on 5-7 so my face couldn't spend what my mouth saved. "Vocal distress, no names, no weather. Please," the voice said again, and
See
the
you,
word ran
Weatherhound.
honey over a knife. "Please, lives inside people," Doris said, low enough the rule would seat in wood. "If it's real, it can cross to us through law." Bradley
Molly
lifted
Baker.
the warrant of hand but didn't move. "Consent," he called. I raised the bell and answered one long, too short. "House consents only to inches," I said. "No step beyond the birches until 2 signatures." "Copy," he said, law's way of saying
Cái vết
amen.
nó không đúng.
The boy stepped closer and missed time. His pleas landed between my 5 and
Knock,
7.
knock, knock,
My
knock,
eyelids
knock.
felt it like a drummer hears a lazy cymbal. He blinked wrong. His shadow, if that's what to call what tried to walk, forgot to keep up with his feet. "Mask," Doris murmured, timers showing. I lifted the kindness jar and without looking away from the line unscrewed the lid. "Thank you for arriving while we're practicing," I said into glass. "We'll keep the kindness." I screwed the lid tight. Teenager evaporated like heat over gravel. No drama this time, just correction. The woods took a full minute before it tried again. Then it sent authority. "Baker," came Bradley's voice, perfect to the burr from the birches themselves. "Open up, sheriff's office." Down at the road, the real Bradley pinched the bridge of his nose and muttered, "Well, hell."
The
I
court
held the
rejects this
handbell
motion.
loosely and said, "Sheriff, call sign." The birch mouth did not ring. The dash bell at the road gave 2 short, 1 long. I answered 1 long. 2 short and watched the tree line fail to keep tempo. Doris's mouth tilted, half pity, half craft. "It can steal a bell," she said. "It
See
can't
you,
steal
Weatherhound.
jurisdiction." The false sheriff tried one more trick, adopting the exact weary patience of men who have filled out too many forms. "Son, we both know this is
Molly
foolishness.
Baker.
You want help or not?" "I want signatures," I said. 2 of them. Silence adjusted its hat, which is how I've started to think of the way quiet changes shape just before it quits. The after-lunch heat spread itself thin over the grass, honest heat
vết
with
nó không
insects
đúng.
in it. Doris took out the escrow tin, slid me an onion skin labeled authority outline.
knock.
"House, not badge," she said. "Describe only the edges of the thing that makes you trust doors." I wrote, "Sill low where shins read, brass bell weight in palm, 2 inches of law at the road, name ladder printed, clipped, dog spine on paste, shoulder turned." Doris carboned it and tied 1 copy to the bell line. "If it bargains for authority, show receipts with no uniforms in them." Late afternoon, an actual brown UPS truck rattled the county road like a big idea. The driver stepped out, cheeks overcooked by August, wobble in his knees. "Water," he croaked, and the sound rang human all the way to the porch. 2 signatures, Doris said. I rang 2 short, 1 long. Bradley answered. We clipped
The court
Warren of
rejects this
hand to
motion.
the outer birch and left Warren of Ring hanging in the portable ring. I stood inside the portable ring and Doris tapped my wrist. "Blink," she said. I kept 5-7 while Bradley, careful as a man handling an infant in a lawsuit, stepped to his inches, set a bottle of water within reach, and then backed out. The driver
See you,
took the
Weatherhound.
bottle, drank, and set it down on our side of no line. "Bless you," he said, "no honey, no knife." He left a package addressed to House. Doris laughed at that and waved, wobbly but fine.
Molly Baker.
"Mercy, 2 signatures," she said, checking the hooks, smoothing nothing that needed smoothing. Law stayed law, house stayed house. We added 2 lines low on the sill while the woods sulked into a study break.
Hush hour.
Please belongs to mouths with pulse. Authority is a weight, not a costume. I opened the package. A coil of fresh
Knock,
red
knock,
twine,
knock, knock,
a
knock,
roll
knock.
of gaffer's tape, and a note in Bradley's block hand. "County budget for theology is low. Consider this a grant." Doris pinned the note under the escrow tin so the laugh would stay righteous. Near dusk, the phone rang, crystal again. I answered inside the portable ring, shoulder turned, lids on beat. "Roman," she said, warm, messy, tired, human. "I'm at Melissa's. The psych thinks we should talk boundaries. How are you breathing?" "On schedule," I said, "due at dusk." "I don't know what that means," she said, and there was true kindness in the sentence. "But say it again." "Due at dusk," I said, and the house took the words and set them on the sill where the wind could read. Night came without theater. No voices, no window.
The court
just
rejects
a
this
joist
motion.
under the porch giving one heavy ledger thump that sounded pleased it had a job. At the tree line, the woods said, in the clerk tone it has when it knows we've posted the right notices. Call signs acknowledged. Warrants noted. See you between weather. I stood with my shoulder toward the hinge and felt the foil on
See
my
you,
chest
Weatherhound.
stay cold. The dog breathed like a metronome. Doris washed her hands in the kitchen sink, the water sounding like small change being counted by
Molly
someone
Baker.
honest. Before sleep, I wrote one more line in tiny letters where only tired eyes will read it. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Bridge requires 2 signatures. If tomorrow brought sirens, we wouldn't mistake them for keys. If the woods wore a badge, we'd check for a bell. If a child knocked,
Knock,
we'd
knock,
open
knock,
as a
knock,
window
knock,
and
knock.
close on time, because time is the part of love that keeps your house from flooding. I slept with lids on 5/7, and the handbell's weight learned in my palm, so I could ring from my inches if midnight tried to sell me someone else's. By late morning, the house had done its quiet math. Light in squares, dust where time decides to sit. The dog lay with his spine exactly on the paste line, nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the boards would carry it, not the trees. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fare is a lure. Home is a window, due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones
court
are
rejects this
windows we
motion.
don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and held up a clipped newspaper from 1974, county ordinance about quiet hours nobody bothers
See you,
to enforce
Weatherhound.
anymore. In pencil, his grandfather had added, "Hush at dusk saves lives." Under it, one more line. Echoes are invoices. Your house needs a hush
Molly
hour,
Baker.
Bradley said. Names travel too far after sundown. Doris arrived with her brown bag and the look of a teacher who likes pop quizzes. She set a pocket notebook on the porch rail, the kind with minute lines like church meetings use. On the cover, she wrote with a fat pencil, "Minute book outlines only." Then she clipped up a fresh
Knock,
name
knock,
ladder
knock,
with
knock,
one
knock.
new handle, Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush. Hush is a party to the agreement now, said. We'll schedule it like prayer and treat it like plumbing. She chalked low where shins learn doctrine first. Stories are rooms, porch is summary. Names are keys, sign them out. Hush hour, no names after dusk, whether words only. After dusk, she said, we don't say names into open air. Inside, door closed, you can use them like bread. On the porch, you summarize. If you must refer, you sign out a key in the minute book. Name, time, purpose, return. The woods loves a free syllable. We drilled the minute book. I wrote a practice entry. Crystal, 6:12 p.m. Purpose. Health check / kindness. Return 6:14 p.m. Doris
The court
nodded.
rejects this motion.
If the woods bills you, show the receipt. Echoes are invoices, minutes are disputes. At noon, the woods spun up a radio from nowhere. AM hiss sliding across the yard like a snake you can hear. The speaker wasn't anywhere, the sound was everywhere. A host's voice, cheerful in the way men are when they're paid to keep you listening.
See you, Weatherhead.
Welcome back to Hollow Hour. Special guest Roman will be telling us what he loves most. Static licked my name. The dog stood. Doris tapped the handbell, too short, one long. At the road, Bradley answered, one long, too short. Jurisdiction warmed the air without raising it. The host purred, getting the vowels right. Roman, say the name first and last, make it true.
Hush
I
hour.
opened the minute book and wrote slowly.
Cái vết này
No
nó không
name,
đúng.
12:04 p.m. Purpose. Refuse invoice, returned immediately.
Knock, knock, knock,
Then I
knock,
said
knock.
to the page, not the sky, no name. The radio tried another voice, my father's, patient as a pocket knife. Son, don't be unkind, say her name. Doris placed the kindness jar between us and unscrewed the lid. We can thank without paying, she said. Thank you for the reminder that love exists, I said into glass. We'll keep the kindness. Lid back on. The AM fizzled, then came back closer, offering a live call-in. Tell us your favorite story about her. I touched the escrow tin and slid a new onion skin out. Affection outline. In blue pencil, warmth under collarbone, hands unclench, breath evens, requests rest without price. Doris carboned it, tied one copy to the bell line. Affection is a feeling, not
The court
a name,
rejects
she
this
said.
motion.
If the woods wants flavor, it can learn to cook. Afternoon, a traveling preacher in a dust-colored suit came up the drive, hat in hand, smile worn to the threads. Evening service by the river. He said, we're gathering names to pray over. I hear you have some that need covering. Doris's head tilted.
See
Two
you,
signatures,
Weatherhound.
she said, for mercy, never for gossip. He chuckled like we'd told a joke. Sister, I don't gossip, I intercede, a name must be spoken. I opened the minute book and wrote,
Molly
Stranger,
Baker.
3:03 p.m. Purpose. Request to export names denied. Names are keys, I said. We sign them out. We don't donate them to air. His eyes flicked to the bell tied to my wrist,
Hush hour.
then to the portable ring in my pocket
Cái vết
like he
này nó không đúng.
recognized a church he didn't build. The edges of him wrinkled like paper getting ready to
Knock,
burn.
knock, knock, knock,
He
knock,
tipped his
knock.
hat and the hat had bark on the underside. When he turned, his shadow forgot how feet work. By the road, he thinned into heat and left the dust to answer for him. Bradley raised his palm. Good refusal. He set a trifold pamphlet on the fence post, county fair rules from long ago. No calling contests after sundown. In the margin, singing steals less than talking. Hush hour, he said. Old folks knew. We finished the sill with 2 more lines. Love does not hire a microphone. Echoes don't get to collect. At twilight, the first hush hour began. We stood on the porch with the minute book open, the hand bell between us, the bell line cool on my wrist, the portable ring warm against
The
my
court
chest.
rejects this motion.
Doris set the timer on the stove, 60 minutes of quiet that isn't empty. During hush, she said, If we must speak, we use whether words and shapes, not names. If a name is vital, we sign it out. If it tries to leave our mouth twice, we close. The woods took it personally. It brought a soft
See
knock,
you,
not
Weatherhound.
3, not 1, 2, the sound of a child who's learned to be polite. Then whispered my name exactly once, wearing Crystal's cadence like a coat that fits. My throat moved.
Molly Baker.
Doris put 2 fingers on the foil cool eye over my sternum. The cold stood up in me. I opened the minute book and wrote, hand shaking only at the edges. Crystal 7:09 p.m. purpose. Human safety check approved 2 signatures. House Belline tub, Roman handbell tap. I rang 2 short,
Knock,
1
knock,
long.
knock, knock,
At the
knock.
road, Bradley answered, 1 long, 2 short. I stepped inside the portable ring, shoulder turned, lids 5-7. Doris set the live escrow vial in my palm, relief, lawful, so we wouldn't try to buy calm with names. I said once into the room behind my teeth, not the porch. Crystal, then closed my mouth and returned the key in the minute book. 7:10 p.m. returned and underlined it twice. The whisper at the tree line tried to echo invoice due, but the bell line tugged and the house refused the charge. Silence deepened, not sulking, accepting. For the rest of hush, we spoke like farmers. Cloud, wind, warm front, cool pocket. It felt like diet for mouths. After 60 minutes, the stove timer rang small and homely.
The court rejects
The
this
dog
motion.
chuffed once. His approval sounded paid in full. After hush, the woods tried a last trick. It threw us a sweetness. The smell of peaches we didn't have, ripened on a tree that never grew. I lifted the kindness jar, unscrewed the lid, and said very softly into glass, "Thank you for the memory-shaped smell." Lid on.
See you,
The
Weatherhound.
smell folded back into what air is supposed to be. Night's ledger thump came at the usual beam. And then, for the first time, the woods spoke without mimicry. Clerk voiced and
Baker.
almost respectful. Hush hour posted. Minute book received. Echo invoices will be disputed. Bradley called across the boundary like law does when it's proud and won't say so.
Hush hour.
Your grandmother would have liked tonight. She made noise. You're making policy. Before sleep, we wrote one last line where only
Knock,
tired
knock,
chins
knock, knock,
read
knock.
and decent dogs lie. We speak love inside rooms. We summarize IT on the porch. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge, lids on 5-7, and my tongue remembering the difference between room and air. Out in Memphis, a plant got watered and decided again to keep living. Love doesn't need a microphone. It needs hush and due dates, and a house that refuses to be flattered by echoes. By late morning, the porch looked like accounting done right. Sun in tidy squares, dust where the small coins of time settle. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, pretending boredom the way a good guard does. I read the sill doctrine so the wood, not the trees, would memorize it. This door is a wall. This
The
name
court
is
rejects this
withdrawn.
motion.
This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires two
See you,
signatures.
Weatherhound.
Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Whether words only. Sheriff
Baker.
Bradley idled at the road, held up a metal stamp from the county clerk's graveyard. Rubber dried but legible. It read paid in red. Clerk said his daddy stamped weather receipts in '59 when the river tried unionizing.
hour.
He said. Thought you'd use it without laughing. Doris came with her brown bag and a new tool that looked like a mailbox made
Knock,
by
knock,
someone
knock,
who loved
knock, knock,
doors
knock.
for their minds, not their hinges. Tin, roofed, a slot across the top, stenciled in black, "Do." She set it on the porch rail facing the woods. "We've been posting and escrowing," she said. "Today we add audit. Windows open and close on schedule. The woods will try grace periods and late fees. We don't do fees, we do back pay with breath." She chalked low where shins and decent dogs read. "Grace is schedule, not pity. Late fees are lures. Yesterday has no keys here." Then she clipped up a fresh name ladder, one more handle added. "Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit." "Audit's not suspicion," she said. "It's love with a calendar." We walked the shoulder count to the deadfall classroom. On the
court
pale
rejects
page,
this
the
motion.
rules we'd earned still held. The 12th line, "Home is anywhere you are loved," equals window, looked less mystical, more municipal. Doris set the DUE box on the log squared to the timber line and tied a red thread from its flag to my bell line. "Now the woods can return on time without touching you," she said.
See you,
"You'll feel the
Weatherhound.
flag when it pays." We laid out our tools, the paid stamp, ink pad, onion skin weather loan forms, the live escrow vial labeled relief,
Molly
lawful,
Baker.
the minute book open to a blank page titled Audit Hour. The woods tried reasonable first. It put up a window at the tree line showing yesterday's porch. Same bread knife, same jar of honey, the lemon drop glinting where I'd left it too visible. It breathed a coolness that remembered noon better than noon did.
Knock,
Grace
knock,
period,
knock,
it
knock,
murmured.
knock.
"You were kind yesterday, we were strict, let's even." "Grace is schedule," Doris said, almost fond. "Not apology." I slid a weather loan form onto the log, wrote the date, the hour, west breeze, interest-free. Due at dusk, stamp paid for yesterday's return we'd already accounted. Then I pointed at the window. "Not due, not mine." It tried fees next, like a banker with manners. "You used hush, a fee for carrying silence after dusk." Doris took the minute book, wrote, "Void no fee for silence. Hush is schedule, 11:28 a.m., audit plus house." She angled the page so the timber line could read. The fake window clouded the way a mirror does when you stop telling it what to be. The
court
DUE
rejects this
flag on
motion.
the log flicked, a tug on my bell line, then went still. A modest apology returned on time. I stamped the loan sheet paid and slid it into the tin. "Back pay received," I said. "No fees." The woods sulked like a clerk who's been told to smile. Then it tried yesterday in a different suit.
See you,
It
Weatherhound.
lifted a thin, almost invisible window with cricket song that belonged to last summer. The good one, when Crystal burned pancakes and we ate them anyway, laughing at our own
Molly
hunger.
Baker.
The dog stood and leaned his weight against my shin, hard enough to move me half an inch toward now. I lifted the live escrow vial, breathed once to remember the edges of lawful relief, chest light, hands open, rest without fee. Then said to the vial, not the glass in the trees, "On deposit. Yesterday has no
Knock,
keys
knock,
here."
knock, knock, knock,
Doris
knock.
slid me a fresh onion skin titled Yesterday, outline only. I wrote with the blue pencil, crickets loud enough to be a room. Burned pancakes, not sad, instructive. Carbon glassine tied to the bell line. "Outline is legal," she said. "Flavor is baked." The window with the crickets dimmed until it looked like honest shade. On the road, Bradley raised the stamp like a toast. "If it tries interest, charge it processing," he called. Government joke. Afternoon roasted the yard flat as a griddle. We moved audit hour to the porch. DUE box facing out, hand bell between us, the paid stamp ready. Doris added a thin brass ruler to the rail and etched marks into the wood, quarter inches, halves,
court rejects
whole
this
inches.
motion.
Then carved a small dovetail notch at 2 inches. So the house can feel the right distance even when fear argues, she said. She scratched a tiny arrow under the notch. Law stands here. The woods tried a knockoff law next, badge and hat voice from the tree line with a genial threat in it. Inspection.
See you,
Audit
Weatherhound.
requires access. Just 2 inches more. Bradley's dash bell gave 2 short, 1 long. I answered 1 long, 2 short. He stayed at his inches and grinned in a way that could be mistaken for friendliness by people who don't keep ledgers. You can't inspect what you don't jurisdiction, he said conversationally into the wind. I set the brass ruler on the sill, touched the dovetail. 2 inches stays 2 inches, I said. If you want inside, file a bridge with 2 signatures. The tree line went quiet, not the sulky quiet.
Knock.
The quiet of a student with a hard problem and no cheat sheet. Hush hour came on time like payroll. We signed out no names in the minute book and spoke in weather and shapes. Warm edge, cool pocket, the good dark stacking over the ridge. At 7:19, a child's whisper said my name exactly once with perfect shyness. I opened the minute book, wrote, child-shaped, 7:19 p.m. purpose. Test of porch, denied no pulse. Then I rang the handbell 2 short, 1 long so the law could hear we were awake. At the road, the answer came back. The whisper didn't try again. After hush, the woods tried back pay with garnish. A breeze that carried bread that wasn't baking and pine that wasn't cut, plus a small sigh made of our kitchen's
The court
light.
rejects this
I
motion.
lifted the kindness jar, unscrewed the lid, and said, "Thank you for returning what you owed on time." The DUE flag flicked. I stamped paid, lid back on. We added 2 more lines low on the sill while the day cooled into the right kind of evening. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit.
See you,
IT
Weatherhound.
can't borrow the keys. Bradley set a second-hand bell on the rail. For Doris, he said, if both of you ring, county hears quorum. Doris tried it 1 short
Molly
touch,
Baker.
and the 2 bells together sounded like a small church that only opens for receipts. The phone buzzed at 9:03 Crystal. I answered inside the portable ring, lids on 5-7, shoulder turned to hinge. Hey,
Cái vết
she
nó không
said,
đúng.
human soft. The psych says teeth grinding is a ledger problem.
Knock,
Not
knock,
enough
knock,
paid
knock,
in
knock.
your day. She laughed once at herself. I don't know. I just watered that plant again and it keeps living. Are you okay? On schedule, I said. Audit posted. I don't know what that means, she said gently, same as last night, but say it again. Audit posted, I said. The house memorized the phrase and put it somewhere low in the door frame where it could teach the hinge. Knight's ledger thump came honest. Then the woods spoke in clerk tone, almost tidy. Late fees declined. Grace acknowledged as schedule. Back pay will arrive at DUE. See you between weather. Before bed, I stamped the day's forms paid where they deserved it, filed them in the tin, and slid the brass ruler into the notch so the wood itself could remember. The dog sighed the way a good book closes.
The court
I wrote
rejects
1
this
last
motion.
line where only shins and honest dogs read. We don't punish yesterday. We just don't give IT keys. I slept shoulder to hinge, lids on 5-7, breath counting a gutter that still refused to drip, in a county that was starting to act like itself. If tomorrow brought interest
See you,
or
Weatherhound.
grace with perfume, we had a mailbox, a stamp, and a bell that rang back. That's not magic. That's administration. The other word for mercy when it's
Molly
done on
Baker.
time. By late morning, the porch balanced its books, sun in squares, dust where time pays coins. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the wood, not the woods, would carry it.
Cái vết
This
nó
door
nó
is a
không đúng.
wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a
Knock,
lure.
knock, knock,
Home
knock,
is a
knock.
window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers, keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit, IT can't borrow the keys. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and lifted a coil of white mason line and a tin of post caps. County used to keep fence law, he said. Conversations happen at fences, not doors. He set a small ledger on the rail stamped visitors. On the first page, his grandfather's pencil.
The court rejects this
Fence
motion.
is a mouth that can say no politely. Doris arrived with her brown bag and a carpenter's eye. She chalked low. Visitors sign the fence, not the door. Gates are meetings, hinges keep time. She strung the white line between 2 birches at chest height, clipped a red tag in the middle, and hung our handbell there. Fence
See you,
bell,
Weatherhound.
she said. Too short. 1 long means request to visit. House answers from the porch with 1 long, too short. No one crosses on pity. We ran the name ladder
Molly
now.
Baker.
Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence. Brass clips snapped like small, correct decisions. The first visitor shuffled up in boots that had seen honest mud. Old man Jennings from 2 miles down, hat in hand, his pulse showing in the skin at his temple. He rang the fence bell too short, 1 long, then set
Knock,
both
knock,
palms
knock,
on the
knock,
top
knock.
wire like prayer with calluses. Fence signature, Doris said softly. Jennings wrote on the visitor's page with careful block letters. Jennings, a calf tangled, needs hands. He didn't say my name. He didn't ask for the door. We rang the porch bell 1 long, too short. Bradley answered from the road, too short, 1 long, law's inches ready. We clipped warrant of hand to the near post and warrant of ring to the portable ring laid flat. I stood inside the ring. Doris tapped my wrist. Blink beat steady. Bradley walked to his inches, set cutters on the ground on our side. We moved as a bridge. House, law, neighbor, 2 signatures on mercy, not 1. 10 minutes later, the calf bawled free. Nobody owed anything they didn't choose.
The court rejects this
Jennings
motion.
signed returned in the ledger, tipped his hat to the fence, and the county felt cleaner. The woods waited until lunch to try its version. A Jennings came again. Same boots, same hat, breath a little fast. He rang the fence bell with perfect rhythm and wrote in the ledger, Jennings, pie for thanks, come to porch. The ink didn't sink.
See you,
It sat on
Weatherhound.
the paper like water wanting to be forgiven. When he smiled, his molars were too even for a man who lived on beans in winter. Timer, Doris murmured. I watched the
Molly
blink
Baker.
offbeat. The dog sighed and pressed his shoulder into my shin, half an inch toward now. I opened the kindness jar, unscrewed the lid, and spoke into glass. Thank you for the offer of pie. Lid back on.
Hush
The
hour.
smile peeled off the face like
Cái vết này nó
wallpaper
không đúng.
finding a scene. The ledger's line evaporated. The bell swayed once and still.
Knock, knock, knock,
Fences
knock,
speak
knock.
no without being cruel. Afternoon heated flat as a pan. The DUE box on the porch flicked its flag once. A small back pay breeze returning exactly on schedule. I stamped paid and slid the paper home. Then the woods put on a new suit, apology. From the tree line, clerk voice warm as a casserole. We regret last winter's cold that took your pipes. Accept this general apology as credit toward future inconveniences. Sign here to release all further claims. Indemnity, Bradley said, mouth going sideways. Insurance that wants a prayer. Doris set a fresh onion skin titled Repair Ledger on the table and clicked her pencil. Apologies are not currency, repairs are, she said, chalking
The court
it low
rejects
on
this
the sill.
motion.
She turned to the trees. List duties, not sorrows. Silence shuffled its papers. Then the clerk voice read like a consent decree. Return west wind at DUE for the next 7 days. Dry the sill under the east window between midnight and dawn. Lay one harmless path through brambles to the creek gate. No thorns within 6 inches of line. Hold mimics to 1 attempt per night. No voices during hush. Doris nodded. Schedule, not pity. I stamped the page accepted. Audit and house, and tied a red thread from the repair ledger to the DUE flag so the bell line would tug when tasks posted complete. We added a second line low where shins and dogs read first. The dead don't co-sign. Explain it, Doris said. The Woods can't use my father to make a contract, I said. Nor Molly, nor anybody who doesn't have pulse. Living signers only. The Woods tried the old trick anyway, polite as church. Dad's voice, son, let it cover our past due, be fair. I opened the minute book and wrote, deceased no authority, 3:41 p.m. purpose, indemnity denied. House bell tug, Roman bell tap. Then I rang the fence bell, 2 short, 1 long. Bradley answered. The tree line failed to keep tempo. Contracts ended where pulse didn't begin. Toward evening, the DUE flag twitched 4 quick times as if someone were filing. The bell line cooled. We checked the repair ledger. West wind paid, flag flicked. East sill, dry back of my hand said truth. Creek path, harmless dog
the court
trotted
rejects
it
this
and came
motion.
back without burrs. Mimics pledge posted. I stamped 3 paid and 1 posted, audit. Back pay isn't confession, Doris said. Satisfied. It's work. We strung a small visitor shelf on the fence, a plank wide enough for water or a message, and lettered it neat. Leave help here. Keep names there.
See you, Weatherhound.
Jennings came at dusk and set a jar of pickles on it with a laugh that had beans in it. He signed Pickles left, take when needed, and waved from his side. Fences let neighbors mean well without hiring any doors. Hush hour began like payroll, quiet that isn't empty. We spoke in weather. No names left the minute book. Midway through, the Woods put a bouquet at the tree line, wildflowers I knew and 1 bloom that doesn't grow here. It smelled like a memory with sugar on it. I lifted the kindness jar, opened it, and whispered the thanks to glass. Then I checked the visitor shelf, empty, and the repair ledger, all the ink sinking like it should. The bouquet stayed where it was, which made it harmless. Night's joist thump landed on the usual beam. Ledger closing, not threat. Then the Woods clerked up, square as paper. Fence registered. Indemnity declined. Repair schedule accepted. Mimic window limited to 1 attempt per night, no attempts during hush. See you between weather. Bradley tipped his hat from the road, satisfied like a man whose job is inches, not miles. Doris wrote 2 last lines where only shins and honest dogs read. Visits are bridges, doors are homes. Apologies are not currency, repairs are. Before sleep, I walked the fence line once.
The court rejects this
hand brushing
motion.
the white string like you pat a dog that's working. The dog paced me, then lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, as if to say we've got it till morning. I slept shoulder to hinge, lids on 5'7", with a house that knew how to meet at the fence, a county that kept its inches, and a woods that, at least tonight, had learned to file work instead of feelings. By late morning, the porch looked like a ledger that had slept, sun in tidy squares, dust where small coins of time decide to sit. The dog lay spine on pace, nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the wood, not the Woods, would memorize it. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Home is a window, due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase.
Knock.
Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit, IT can't borrow the keys. Visitors sign the fence, not the door. Apologies are not currency, repairs are. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and set 3 objects on the porch rail like a sentence with punctuation. An old plat map rolled in a rubber band. A blank affidavit of possession stamped faint by the clerk's ghost ink. And a tin that rattled like law when you shake it.
The court rejects this motion.
The lid read, Oath. Storm season, he said. Woods loves to claim act of God and move fences. We'll file a quiet title between your house and what tries to own it. Doris arrived with her brown bag and that look she gets when class is about to be hard and worth it. From the bag, she set 3 mason jars, one with creek water, one with red clay, and one with a single old nail Dad would have approved, then a stub of carpenter's pencil and a fist of chalk. She chalked low where shins and honest dogs read first. Storm does not change jurisdiction. Eminent domain ends at the fence. Blackout is not permission. Candles are windows. We chalk their frames. She clipped a fresh name ladder with 2 new handles. Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence Oath Title. Oath is a party now, she said. Title 2. We spread the plat map flat and weighted the corners with what the county respects. The tin marked oath, the escrow tin, the handbell, and the DUE box. Bradley pointed to the yard's rectangle and the thin vein of creek. Your boundary is here, he said. The woods argues this bank moves when water rises. We'll make a storm clause that travels with the house, not the creek. Doris unscrewed the mason jar of red clay and smeared a thumbprint across the plat map where the porch sits in the world. Possession mark, she said. Not romance evidence. She layered the old nail across that print, dipped 2 fingers into creek water and tapped the nail's head 3 times so the testimonies would know each other. Then she handed me the affidavit of possession. Read it out loud, she said, so the wind will have to carry policy, not gossip. I read, I, Roman Baker, keep house at this sill. 2 inches of law stand at the road. Fence is our mouth. Windows pay at DUE. Hush holds after dusk. Storm does not change jurisdiction. I signed Roman House. Doris signed Doris House. Bradley printed sheriff, law inches only, and kept his boots where they belonged. We needed witnesses. Doris took out a scrap board and lettered a witness ladder with clips like the others. Dog Birch Bell Duke. The dog put his paw on the board and didn't move until Doris nodded. Witness, living. I tied the bell line around the birch twice. Witness, rooted. Bradley rang the dash bell too short, 1 long witness, law, and I answered 1 long, too short from our side, house consents. Doris tugged the DUE flag witness schedule. We nailed the affidavit under the eave with Dad's nail. The wood took it the way bone takes a screw. Unpleasant, permanent, necessary. Clouds shouldered up in the west as if weather had read the docket and wanted it said. Heat went glassy. Crickets tuned. The DUE flag flicked on schedule. Breeze returned, paid. I stamped the slip and slid it into the tin. Then the woods filed its counterclaim. Not knocks, not voices, paper. A page slid from the tree line and pinned itself against a birch by nothing but air. The printing was clerk clean. Notice of emergency easement. Pursuant to storm. The hollow asserts temporary right-of-way through porch and fence to ensure safety of occupants.
The court rejects this motion.
Boundaries float. Kindness requires access. Signed to agree to eminent domain until weather clears. Doris didn't look at the trees. She looked at the sill, our courtroom. Read it, she said, then answer in chalk. I read. Then chalked low and slow. We concede no doors to storm. Bridge only two signatures. Title quieted at the sill. Bradley set a small brass ruler on the rail, etched to 2 inches, and pushed it until the little dovetail notch we'd cut in part 8 kissed the edge of the sill. Inches don't float, he said. County has to live somewhere. The first gust hit like a shirt being snapped open. Leaves tumbled, dust wrote brief letters in the yard. The DUE box hummed, flag quivered, bell-line cooled. The dog got up and moved his spine deeper onto the paste, nose still toward the birches, witness, continuous. We went a blackout protocol. Doris set 3 candles in jam jars on the table and chalked a frame around each jar on the wood. Candle window, due at hush. Candles are windows, she said. They'll try to sell you old light. We set due dates so they close themselves. She handed me a small roll of aluminum foil. If the juice fails, you keep the cool eye. Foil stays cold under heat, keeps your no from going soft. Lightning walked the ridge. Thunder filed exhibits. Power died with a sound like someone telling a story that isn't true. The woods tried to use the dark to grow inches. A voice from by the fence. Neighbor. Breathless. Roman, open, my roof, my kids. Fence, not door,
the court rejects
Doris
this motion.
said. I rang the fence bell, 2 short, 1 long. Bradley answered. The visitor shelf stood empty but waiting. I lifted the visitor's ledger and wrote unknown, claims roof loss, ring again. No ring came. The dog's ears stayed level. The hush inside the storm said mask. Rain came down like a deadline. We stepped inside. The portable ring laid flat on the floorboards, turned our shoulders toward the hinge. My lids kept 5-7 so my face wouldn't sign what my mouth refused. The woods shifted tactics to old light. In the second candle's flame a picture climbed up, Crystal at our kitchen, hair tucked, elbow flower white. Yesterday's window burned into fire. The breath from it was cool, wrong for the room. It made my hands want to open in the wrong way. Candle window, Doris said. She tapped the chalk frame and the jam jar like a bailiff. Do it hush. I lifted the live escrow vial relief, lawful, and held it over the jar. On deposit, I told the flame, due at dusk, not storm. The picture flickered, then steadied back into honest fire. We needed quiet title to finish. Doris popped the lid on the oath tin. Inside lay a little oak stake and a strip of muslin. She handed me the stake and nodded toward the threshold. Speak it to the wood, she said. I pressed the stake to the floor just inside the door, not pounding placing. This sill keeps house, storm or shine. Title quieted here. Inches stay inches, doors stay walls, windows keep due, bridges require 2 signatures. I signed the muslin with Carpenter's pencil Roman.
The court
house.
rejects this
Doris
motion.
added Doris house. Bradley printed sheriff. Law inches only and stayed in his reign. For witnesses, the dog pressed his paw to the muslin pulse. I wrapped the muslin around the stake and stood it where the hinge could read it with every swing. The storm took a hard run then, rain like gravel, wind like a jury full of cousins. The porch groaned the way wood speaks when it remembers trees. The DUE flag flicked even in blackout. Schedule keeps itself. I stamped paid blind and slid the paper where it belongs. Hush hour began inside the storm like payroll inside war. We spoke in weather words and shapes. No names left the minute book. The woods,
Hush,
honoring
Howard.
its one attempt per night pledge
Cái
from
việc
the
này nó
repair
không đúng.
ledger, raised a single window at the tree line and put my father there, younger than my
knock,
earliest
knock,
memory,
knock.
a half smile crooked like mine when I'm failing to be brave. He didn't speak. He looked the way men look at sons when they're trying to hand them something you don't pass with hands. Window, Doris said softly, due at dusk. I raised the affidavit nailed under the eave with my eyes, not my hand, and read it back inside my teeth. Then I lifted the witness ladder and rang the handbell too short, one long. The dash bell answered one long, too short. The DUE flag tugged. The dog pressed his spine harder into the paste, nose forward, witness that didn't talk. The window closed itself the way good machinery does when the workday ends. The storm kept throwing its shoulders, but the inches didn't float. Near midnight, the
court
power
rejects
came
this
back
motion.
wrong then right, the way radios do when they pass a song through static. The candles soothed down to themselves. We pinched them out on time and stamped the chalk frames with the little paid stamp because I needed the sound. The woods clerk voiced across wet dark. Emergency easement declined. Quiet
See you,
title
Weatherhelm.
posted. Candle windows acknowledged as due-based. Fences hold. Bridges only with 2 signatures. See you between weather. Bradley tapped the brim, water
Molly
running
Baker.
off the felt. When the river goes looking for a new last name, you keep yours, he said. County appreciates quiet victories. We added 2 lines where only shins and honest dogs read. Storm is a visitor, house is a
Cái việc này
resident.
nó không đúng.
Quiet title lives at the sill. Before sleep, I checked the stake.
Knock,
Muslin
knock,
tie,
knock, knock.
pencil mark stubborn. I pressed 2 fingers to the foil over my sternum. It stayed creak cold under the heat the day had thrown. The dog curled nose to tail on the paste line like a perfect question with its own answer. I slept shoulder toward the hinge, lids on 5-7, in a house that now carried its title even when the county forgot its name, and in a county that, storm or shine, still kept inches for people who signed them. By late morning, the porch looked like a ledger after payday, sun in squares, dust where pennies of time settle. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, pretending to nap the way good guards pretend to be furniture. I read the sill so the wood, not the woods, would memorize it. This
The
door
court
is a
rejects
wall.
this motion.
This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fare is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission.
See you,
Mercy
Weatherhelm.
requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a
Molly
calendar.
Baker.
Yesterday can visit. IT can't borrow the keys. Visitors sign the fence, not the door. Apologies are not currency. Repairs are. Storm is a visitor. House is a resident. Quiet title lives at the sill. Sheriff
Cái việc
Bradley
này nó không
idled
đúng.
at the road and set 3 items on the rail like punctuation that like the truth. A small notary seal with the county crest worn smooth. A bottle of blue ink that stains like memory. And a stack of pre-numbered certificates. Mail's coming, he said. Woods loves letters you sign in your sleep. We'll notarize the living and starve the dreams. Doris arrived with her brown paper bag and a laugh saved for hard work. From it she drew red twine, wax, a brass return-to-sender stamp, and an empty metal inbox stenciled mail. She set the inbox on the fence shelf, not the porch. New party to the contract, she said, clipping up a fresh name ladder. Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence Oath Title Notary Mail. Then she chalked low where shins and honest dogs read first. Signatures live in daylight. Dreams
The court
don't
rejects
take
this
delivery.
motion.
Mail stops at the fence. Packages sit. Names don't walk. We practice the daylight test. Doris cracked the blue ink, tapped my wrist once with the notary seal so the bell line would remember the shape. Anything you sign in sun and pulse is yours, she said. Anything that arrives after
See you,
hush gets
Weatherhound.
returned unopened. The first letter appeared like weather that figured out envelopes, cream paper, my name in a hand that looked like the county clerk if the county clerk had ever loved my grandmother. It lay on the fence shelf as if it had always existed there. We rang the fence bell too short, one long. Bradley answered one long, too short. Jurisdiction breathed. I lifted the envelope on the fence side, not the porch, and examined it without opening. The return address said Hollow and Co. Claims. The flap's glue smelled like wet walnuts, wrong season, wrong county. I pressed the wax seal return to sender across the flap without breaking it and stamped the front with Doris's brass. No authority after dusk. The dog wagged once, as if to say mail has feet and they stop here. The Woods filed a second attempt, registered, a green card clipped to the front, signed here in red. The red felt hungry. Bradley chuckled without mirth. Registered is just regular that went to church, he said. Doris laid out the rule we hadn't said yet and wrote it low where the boards could learn it. We don't sign for the dead. Then under it, smaller, nor for dreams. I flipped the envelope over. Who's the claimant? I asked. The paper answered without voice.
The court
Molly
rejects this
Holloway's
motion.
blood debt carried forward. My thumb tried to sign itself. Doris touched the foil cool eye on my chest and the cold stood up in me. I put the letter flat on the fence shelf and opened the minute book to a page Doris had titled Mail Hour. Hollow and Co. 11:12 a.m. Purpose. Collect blood debt denied.
See you,
no
Weatherhound.
pulse, no daylight, notary absent. House bell tug, Roman bell tap. Sheriff answered inches. Bradley set his notary seal on the rail but didn't reach past the inches. If you want the stamp, he said, you pick it up in daylight. I walked to the fence, not the door, and took the notary seal with my left hand over the white line so 2 inches stayed honest. I stamped the minute book entry with the county crest. Then I sealed the envelope unopened with return to sender, signed Roman, house daylight, and put it back on the shelf. The letter thinned, air reclaiming forgery, and drifted down to gravel like a moth that remembered it was paper. Dream Leon start with a story that sounds like help, Doris said. Next, they'll offer mercy in exchange for a signature. Afternoon heated clean. The DUE flag flicked. The breeze paid what it owed. I stamped paid and slid the slip into the tin. The dog dozed hard enough to snore, which is honesty and canine. The Woods tried a package next. Small cardboard tied with twine, no return. A corner of cloth visible through a tear. Blue, the exact shade of the blouse Crystal wore to Dad's funeral. The exact shade of a bait that thinks it's memory.
The court rejects
Packages
this motion.
sit, names don't walk, Doris reminded. We left it on the fence shelf and wrote in the visitor's ledger. Package 1:47 p.m. no return holds blue cloth not opened awaiting pulse. 10 minutes later old man Jennings came hobbling up, hat in hand. He rang too short, one long. We answered.
See you,
He signed
Weatherhound.
the ledger Jennings, witnessed box smells like walnuts. That ain't ours, he said kindly, and set a quart of green beans beside it. This is. The Woods got clever then. At 3:06 the phone buzzed Crystal and the inbox on the fence took a letter at the same instant with the same handwriting. In my ear her voice warm, messy, real. Hey, therapist says
Hush
practice
hour.
concrete, so I watered the plant, it lived. I folded towels, I miss your shoulders. On the fence, the envelope
knock,
said
knock,
open
knock,
now
knock.
for relief. 2 signatures, 1 pulse. Doris tapped the live escrow vial, relief lawful. Don't make phone pull mail across, she said. Turn them into rooms, not doors. I stepped inside the portable ring on the porch, shoulder to hinge, lids 5'7", and talked to Crystal the size of our room. No names beyond what we've signed 100 times. I hear you, I said. Audit posted, plant living is a receipt. She laughed, real and small, human ledger. We hung up with room still in it. Then I turned to the fence and stamped the envelope returned to sender without opening. The blue in the torn corner went gray and the walnut stopped pretending to be now. Indemnity. The Woods tried again, polite as a checkbook. A new letter slid in, crisp.
The court rejects
We agree
this
to
motion.
forgive all past trespasses in exchange for a perpetual easement through your porch during grief events. Sign Baker to bless the county. Doris didn't blink. She wrote a fresh, low line. Grief is not a gate. And under it, blesses happen in rooms, not easements. We answered in paper this time.
See you,
Bradley
Weatherhound.
slid me a lien release form, blank but hungry for ink. I filled the owner line with house, the claimant line with hollow and CO. Basis. Repairs performed per ledger, schedule honored, hush posted, title quieted, storm clause active, fence protocol enforced. I signed Roman, house daylight. Doris countersigned Doris house. Bradley notarized from his inches. The seal biting blew into paper like a good bite. We clipped the lien release to the fence with a clothespin and rang the bell 2 short, 1 long. The treeline answered with paperwork of its own, clerk voice tidy. Lien contested. Provide proof of labor. I opened the repair ledger and our audit stack, stamped copies true with the notary seal, and read the list back. West wind returned at DUE times 7. East sill dried
The court
nightly.
rejects this
Harmless
motion.
path cleared. Mimic attempts limited per pledge. Candle windows closed at hush. Storm easement declined. Title posted. The DUE flag flicked on cue. Back pay breeze right on schedule, like a witness nodding under oath. The letter sagged in the shelf. Ink wetting, paper's way of sweating.
See you,
Accepted
Weatherhound.
pending verification. The Woods said, clerk voice a shade less sure. We added 2 new lines low on the sill. Sign here means son plus pulse plus witness. We don't sign for blood we didn't spend. Evening brought hush out of the way payroll brings breath. We spoke in weather and shapes. The minute book kept our keys. Midway, a dream letter tried to draft my mouth. Inside my head a pen wrote on its own, signing Roman with the little hook Dad taught me, offering everything to anything that promised an end to lonely.
Knock,
Doris
knock,
touched
knock.
the foil cool eye and the cold stood me up. I wrote on paper that lives in the world. Dream Lien, 7:32 p.m. Purpose. Conscript signature, void, no daylight, no pulse, no witness. House bell tug, Roman bell tap, hush timer. The pressure left like a tide that remembered the moon exists. The candles, framed in chalk since storms, kept time honestly and offered no pictures. The dog breathed like a metronome you can pet. After hush, the Woods tried sweetness in a usable size. A postcard landed on the shelf, picture of Percy Warner Park in spring, a path we once walked in a storm that loved us. On the back, a single line, you can keep this, no fee. We turned it over twice. The ink had date,
The court
stamp,
rejects this
postmark,
motion.
not counterfeit. Doris smiled. Some things we can keep, she said, if they don't ask for keys. I stamped the postcard, received, fence, and slid it under the portable ring so the house could carry it like a pocket-sized window without debt. Night pushed its usual joyous thump through the beam. Then the woods clerk voiced in
See
a
you,
tone that had
Weatherhound.
learned to lose without hating it. Mail boundaries posted. Dream signatures void. Lien review pending repair verification. Notary accepted
Molly
in
Baker.
daylight only. See you between weather. Bradley tipped his hat. Folks think law is hammers, he said. Most days it's envelopes and when, not what. We wrote 2 last lines where only shins and honest dogs read. Dreams may visit, they don't collect. Our names sleep inside rooms. Before bed, I checked the postcard, still itself, still harmless, and set it where the hinge could see it when it woke. I pressed 2 fingers to the foil over my sternum, creak cold held. The dog curled nose to tail on the paste line like a question with its own answer. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge, lids on 5-7, in a house that signs only in daylight with witnesses, and never for debts we didn't make. If tomorrow brings couriers with perfume or apologies on letterhead, we've got a fence shelf, a notary seal, a jar for kindness, and a county that keeps its inches when the mail gets ideas. By late morning, the porch looked like a courthouse that remembered to be kind, sun in squares, dust where nickels of time settle. The dog lay
The court
spine on
rejects this
pace,
motion.
nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the wood, not the woods, would carry it. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fare is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers.
See you,
Keys
Weatherhound.
have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies
Baker.
cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit, IT can't borrow the keys. Visitors sign the fence, not the door. Apologies are not currency, repairs are. Storm is a visitor, house is a resident. Quiet title lives at the sill.
Knock.
Signatures live in daylight. Dreams don't take delivery. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and set a roll of evidence tape, a box of chain of custody tags, and a form with a hard name, writ of replevin, on the porch rail. You posted title, he said. Next we take back what was wrongfully taken, voices, knocks, names the woods borrowed without receipts. Doris arrived with her brown bag and a face like a teacher who enjoys algebra. She laid out court evidence bags with white label stripes, a felt tip marker, and a decibel meter that used to belong to a band kid. Then she clipped up a fresh name ladder. Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence Oath Title Notary Mail Replevin. Chalk low where shins and honest dogs
The court
read
rejects
first.
this motion.
Voices are property, we claim ours. Borrowed tones return at due. No custody without chain. We practiced. Doris had me speak 2 syllables of my own name into a mason jar, lid off, while she read the decibel and I wrote the time. Bradley filled out a chain of custody tag.
See you, Weatherhound.
ROM/custody. House right arrow audit right arrow Roman. He sealed the jar in an evidence bag and ran the tape across the zipper. If the woods wants copies,
Molly
he said,
Baker.
it can check them out. The first filing came before lunch. 3 knocks from under the porch, perfect cadence. Wrong ownership. I stood inside the portable ring, shoulder to hinge, lids 5-7 so my face wouldn't sign a lease. Doris held up the decibel meter. Bradley started the writ. On signal, Doris said.
Knock.
I snapped the handbell once, 2 short, 1 long, not as invitation but as time stamp. We recorded. Exhibit A 3 knocks, porch beam #311, 16 AM, 62 dB, cadence uniform. I crouched, slid a labeled evidence card under the joist, and said mildly to Wood and to clerk air alike, "Return borrowed rhythm at DUE." The joist answered with a single thump, not surrender, but acknowledgement. We bagged the sound by writing it down. Description, time, meter, our 3 signatures in daylight. Replevin doesn't grab, it documents until even a thief gets bored. The Woods tried my father's laugh next, exact pitch, same little cough at the tail. The dog's ears twitched, his body stayed on pace.
The court rejects this
motion. I raised the kindness jar, not the door. "Thank you for reminding me he existed," I said into glass. Lid on. Then to the timberline. Laughter returns at DUE. No copies leave without sign out. Bradley tagged Exhibit B. Francis laugh. Porch Eve. 11:41 a.m. Doris taped the bag and signed house.
See you,
I
Weatherhouse.
countersigned Roman. Law kept its inches. At the fence, old man Jennings rang the bell too short, one long, and put his mouth near the white line like a man who respects borders. "Cousin in from out of state," he said. "She hears voices at dusk and thinks it's God. Can you put a name on not God for her?" "Fence, not door," Doris said. We carried the minute book to the shelf. I wrote, "Visitor education, 12:22 p.m. Purpose. Demonstrate chain of custody for voices, approved fence only." We set a spare evidence bag on the shelf, rang the bell, and let the Woods perform. It tried a child sobbing, cheap as Velcro. Jennings's cousin flinched, then watched Doris measure. Bradley tag me, bag the description without paying with my pulse. I held up the sealed pouch like a county fair ribbon. "Property, not prayer," Doris said gently. "We keep it. We return it on time. You don't owe it your door." The cousin signed the visitor's ledger, learned not God thanks, and set a pie on the shelf. Real flour, real hands. We put the thanks in the jar and ate the pie. Afternoon, the Woods found a seam. The phone buzzed crystal, while a window rose at the treeline showing our kitchen in the wrong season. July peaches on the counter, the blue blouse she wasn't wearing that day. On the phone, "Roman, talk to me about when you're breathing." "On schedule," I said, inside the portable ring, lids 5-7. To the window, I lifted a fresh onion skin labeled season, outline only, and read flat. July heat, peach fuzz, fan hum, outline
See you,
only, no
Weatherhouse.
keys. The picture yellowed to shade and shut itself like a decent machine. On the phone, the real one exhaled. "Okay," she said, small. "Say it again." "On schedule. We kept room, we didn't hire a door." The Woods filed a counter at 3:03 p.m., paper pinned to a birch by nothing. Notice: Hollow retains samples of Roman's voice for training. Copies constitute fair use. Polite piracy with a seal drawn by a squirrel. Doris set down the rule we'd been circling and wrote it low where boards can memorize it. Fair use doesn't live here. Under it, training sets require signatures. Bradley, pleased like a shop teacher, produced a cease and desist template. I filled the blanks. To Hollow re. Unauthorized retention of voice and name. Basis, title, audit, hush, fence, notary. Demand, delete all unsigned copies, return 1-1 cadence and 1-1 laugh at DUE. I signed Roman house daylight, Doris house. Bradley notarized at inches. We clipped it to the fence with a clothespin like laundry with law. At the next DUE, the little flag flicked twice, 2 small payments. Under the porch, I heard my own cadence put back where it belonged. The way my hum sits on the roof of my mouth when I'm choosing not to speak. From the eve, Dad's laugh arrived with its cough comma like a tool returned cleaned. We stamped paid, bagged the descriptions, and filed them under chain complete. We added 2 lines low on the sill. We We repossess what our blood didn't mean to give. Samples come
See you,
home or don't
Weatherhound.
get used. Near dusk, hush hour posted like payroll. We spoke in weather and shapes. The minute book held our keys. Midway dreams tried Leon language again. Inside my skull, a soft clerk whispered sign here to end the hearings. The foil cool eye stayed creek cold. Doris tapped it once. I wrote on real paper. Dream Leon, 7:18 p.m. Purpose. Settle by surrender, void, no daylight, no witness. House bell tug, Roman bell tap. Hush timer. The pressure left like humidity surrendering to a front. After hush, the woods put up a mirror, not glass, but a patch of dark that reflected sound. It repeated our porch a half-second late, echo trying to become invoice. Bradley held the decibel meter. I read the delay. Doris labeled the bag Exhibit C echo mirror 8:04 p.m. 05s. Invoices disputed, I said, stamping void with the notary's crest. The dark went back to being plain night. Night's joyous thump landed trustworthy. Then the woods clerk voiced, squarer than usual. Replevin posted. Unauthorized training sets flagged. Cadence and laugh returned at DUE. Echo mirror withdrawn. Chain of custody acknowledged where daylight.
The court rejects
pulse,
this
witness
motion.
concur. See you between weather. Bradley tipped his hat. Most monsters are admin with teeth, he said. You file enough forms, they forget to bite. We wrote 2 last lines where only shins and honest dogs read. We don't confuse echo with owning. If IT cop is US, IT signs out first.
See you, Weatherhound.
Before bed, I checked the evidence bags, labels legible, tape intact. I pressed 2 fingers to the foil over my sternum, creek cold held. The dog breathed like a metronome you can pet, then rolled so more spine touched pace, as if to notarize sleep. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge, lids on 5-7, in a house that can take back what was taken, with receipts in daylight, and a county that knows chain of custody is just another way to spell belonging. If tomorrow brings subpoenas in perfume or appeals wearing peaches, we've got tags, tape, a bell that answers to schedules, and a fence that makes even echoes show ID. By late morning, the porch looked like a courthouse that pays its bills, sun in squares, dust where nickels of time settle. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the wood, not the woods, would memorize it. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fare is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency
The court
is not
rejects this
permission.
motion.
Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit, IT can't borrow the keys. Visitors sign the fence, not the door. Apologies are not currency,
See you, Weatherhound.
repairs are. Storm is a visitor, house is a resident. Quiet title lives at the sill. Signatures live in daylight. Dreams don't take delivery. Voices are property, we claim ours. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and laid 3 tools on the rail like punctuation that meant don't move me. A pad titled subpoena, questions in writing, a recusal form, and a small brass whistle whose sound is all rules, no charm. Woods likes hearings, he said. Today it'll try to drag you under its tree. We'll keep jurisdiction where your roof lives. Doris arrived with her brown bag and a teacher's grin that says hard exam fair curve. From it she said a clipboard stamped arbitration, porch venue only. a jar of red pencils that make you slow down, and a fresh minute book insert. Deposition hour, daylight. She clipped up a new name ladder. Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence Oath Title Notary Mail Replevin Arbitration Recusal Privilege. Then she chalked low where shins and honest dogs read first. Subpoenas stop at the fence. Questions in writing, answers in outlines. No judge wears our dead. Porch's venue, verdict is schedule. We plead the quiet after dusk. The first paper slid from the timberline
The court
and pinned
rejects
itself
this
to
motion.
a birch by nothing but the habit of courts. Subpoena ad testificandum. Appear under the hollow at sundown. Produce full names, first loves, last fears. Compulsion guaranteed. Non-appearance admits fault. Bradley lifted his whistle but didn't blow. Service is bad, he said.
See you,
Fence
Weatherhound.
didn't receive. I carried the fence ledger to the shelf, rang too short, one long. He answered one long, too short. Jurisdiction breathed. I wrote. Subpoena received at tree 11, 18 a.m. Bad service not accepted. Counter, questions in writing, daylight only, porch venue. We posted Doris's arbitration, porch venue only clipboard on the rail with two brass clips that sound like tiny doors refusing to be flattened. Under it, she set a saucer of red pencils and the outline forms we'd used for feelings, seasons, firsts. The woods tried dignity. A judge walked out of the tree line in a black coat that might have been shadow sewn to posture. My father's face lived above the collar, mouth set to disappoint. Doris put the recusal form under my pen and didn't look at the thing in the coat. I wrote, recusal 11, 27 a.m. calls. Presiding identity wears deceased kin. Bias and mimic risk. Venue, porch only. Signers, Roman House, Doris House, Sheriff Law Inches. Bradley notarized from his inches. The judge's mouth changed not into Dad's smile but into no one's. The coat faded to something like weather that learned posture and forgot jurisdiction. Questions in writing,
The court
I said,
rejects
and
this
tapped
motion.
the saucer of red pencils. The Woods clerk voiced as if a secretary had taken the bench. On the fence shelf, a sheaf of paper appeared. 1. State the full legal name you love. 2. Describe the room where love sleeps, list access points. 3. Admit that kindness is a door. 4. Wave hush.
See you,
5.
Weatherhound.
Explain the night your father called. I answered in outlines and schedule. 1. Name withheld, key signed out by minute book only, returns at once. 2. Room equals inside door, lids 5-7, foil cool eye present, windows due at dusk, fence bell hearing, no porch access. 3. Denied. Kindness is escrow, not a door. 4. Denied after dusk, we plead the quiet. 5. Outline only, 3 knocks, mimic tried voices, ledger thump at beam, no entrance, morning audit confirmed. Doris clipped my answers to the rail. Bradley blew the whistle once, just enough to seat the air. Deposition hour, Doris said. We set a single kitchen chair on the porch, back to the house, front to the fence. The way you seat witnesses you plan to treat well. She opened the minute book insert. Deposition 12:06 p.m. Method. Daylight, porch, questions in writing, outlines only, privilege for rooms and names, hush holds after dusk. The Woods sent voice without face. A reporter you can't tip. Do you love her? I wrote. Yes, outline, and under it. Warmth under collarbone, hands unclenched, breath evens, asks rest without fee. State her name. I signed out in the minute book crystal 12:08 p.m. Purpose. Deposition outline returned 12:09 p.m. Said it once into the room behind my teeth, then wrote KEY returned and drew a box the size of a window, not a door. The bell line tugged, receipt posted. Describe fear. I wrote, wrong door hungry at night, timer off by a hair,
See you,
echo trying
Weatherhound.
to invoice. Admit that you opened once. I wrote, opened eyes, not doors. Then stamped paid on the hush line because we didn't spend any names to say it. The woods try to compel next. A fresh sheet arrived with the meanness of office supplies. Failure to answer fully equals confession. Produce your dreams. Doris slid me a new low rule and I chalked it where shins can read without bragging. Privilege against self-incantation. Under it, dreams testify to no one. Bradley laughed once, shop teacher pleased. Fifth Amendment for monsters, he said. The clerking at the tree line slowed. Paper lost its appetite. A mediator came instead of a judge, nobody's face, coat the color of don't argue. Binding arbitration. It asked pleasantly. Fast resolution. Give us partial keys, we'll give you peace. Doris set her clipboard between us and the trees. Porch arbitration terms, she read. Venue, porch. Record, minute book plus audit forms, daylight only. Scope, schedule, fences, replevin, no blood, no names beyond keys. Recusal, any presider wearing our dead. Remedy, schedule, not surrender. We rang the handbell too short, one long. Bradley answered one long, too short. The mediator put 3 questions, clerk polite. A.
The court
How many
rejects this
attempts
motion.
may the woods make per night? B. Where may windows open without debt? C. What belongs to yesterday forever? We answered. A. One already in repair ledger. B. Fence shelf and tree edge during daylight, candles as windows only with chalk frames due at hush. C. Smell of peaches and postcard paths. They
See
may
you,
visit
Weatherhound.
uncollected. No keys. The mediator put out a 4th, the real purchase order. D. If the hollow returns your father's knock and laugh, may it keep your name for training. I wrote no in red pencil and underlined it with the weight of a root. Then I attached our cease and desist, replevin, and notary pages like affidavits that can bench press. The DUE flag flicked twice. Back pay of rhythm and laugh right on schedule. We stamped paid and bagged the descriptions. The mediator paled into air that had learned manners. We added 4 lines low on the sill while the dog approved by pretending to sleep harder. Subpoenas stop at the fence. No judge wears our dead. Privilege against self-incantation. Arbitration's remedy is schedule, not surrender. Hush hour came on time like payroll. We spoke in weather and shapes. No names left the book. The woods honored its one attempt. A single window at the tree line showing a church basement that never was, coffee in styrofoam, folding chairs, a sign that said share. I lifted the kindness jar, thanked into glass, and watched the picture fold into honest night. After hush, the woods clerk voiced, less sharp around the edges. Tree subpoena quashed for bad
The court
service.
rejects this motion.
Porch arbitration docketed. Recusal granted where dead preside. Deposition limited to daylight, outlines only. Privilege against self-incantation noted. Remedy shall be schedule. See you between weather. Bradley tipped his hat, proud the way law gets when inches hold. Doris stacked the clipboards, tied them with red
See
twine,
you,
and
Weatherhound.
set them where hinges can study. We wrote 2 last lines where only shins and honest dogs read. Questions may visit, answers stay home. We don't win with secrets. We win with schedule. Before bed, I checked the minute book. Keys signed out, keys returned. I pressed 2 fingers to the foil over my sternum, creak cold hell. The dog rolled so more spine touched pace, notarizing sleep. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge, lids on 5-7, in a house that answers subpoenas at the fence, arbitrates on the porch, and never lets a judge wear our dead. If tomorrow brings appeals in perfume or mediators with peaches, we'll bring red pencils, receipts, and a county that knows venue is half a victory. By late morning, the porch looked like a courthouse that knows when to stop, sun in squares, dust where nickels of time settle. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the wood, not the woods, would memorize it. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease.
The court rejects this
Decline
motion.
favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit, IT can't borrow the keys. Visitors sign the fence, not the door. Apologies are not currency, repairs are. Storm is a visitor, house is a resident. Quiet title lives at the sill. Signatures live in daylight. Dreams don't take delivery. Voices are property, we claim ours. Privilege against self-incantation. Arbitration's remedy is schedule, not surrender. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and set 3 things on the rail like punctuation that knew its business. A rubber stamp that read time bar, a brass hourglass half full of creek sand, and a bound pad titled Notice of Appeal. Woods will try a higher court, he said. If it can't win on inches, it'll argue years. Doris arrived with her brown bag and exam day calm. She laid out a thin ledger labeled Calendar of Harm, a blue pencil, and a ribbon-tied consent decree draft with a blank for sunset clause. She clipped a fresh name ladder. Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence Oath Title Notary Mail Replevin Arbitration Appeal Limitations Decree. Then chalked low where shins and honest dogs read first. Time is a fence too. Old debts don't eat new days. No higher court wears our dead. Peace is a scheduled condition, not a gift. The notice of appeal slid out of the tree line and pinned itself to a birch by the habit paper as when it thinks it's weather. Hollow V. House appeal to higher authority, night/ridge/river. Grounds, long memory, ancestral bargains, continuing jurisdiction. Relief sought, keys in perpetuity, training set rights, grief easement. Bradley set the hourglass on the rail and flipped it. Appeal clock runs in daylight, he said. If it talks after hush, it talks to itself. Doris opened the calendar of harm and drew 3 columns, then /later/ now as neat as a hymn. We'll post a statute of limitations, she said, dated to the day we started keeping schedule. I wrote at the top line in block letters that made the wood proud. Limitations start, day 1 of ledger. Claims older than this are time barred unless they fix themselves. The woods tried heritage first. A Molly stepped out of the trees wearing my grandmother's cheekbones and a dress made of old photographs. Child, she said sweet as a hymn with teeth, I gave part of you to keep you. You owe the rest. Doris slid me the recusal form without looking at the dress. I wrote, recusal 11:21 a.m. cause, presider wearing deceased kin, no jurisdiction. Venue, porch. Time barred where harm predates ledger day 1 and does not repair. Bradley notarized from his inches. The dress became wind, the cheekbones forgot their owner. The woods filed a brief clerk voice snug, continuing harm keeps the clock open. Doris tapped the calendar of harm and spoke like a metronome. Continuing harm is present tense. If it stops
the court
at
rejects
DUE,
this motion.
It's paid. If it continues, we audit today, not ancestors. We flipped the hourglass. The DUE flag flicked on schedule. West wind paid. East sill dry. Creek path harmless. I stamped paid 3 times so the sound would hold shape. The woods called Amasai, friend of the court, briefs from wind, rain, night insects, and a fox the color of a new penny. They spoke nature, not need, which is close to honest. Doris wrote an amicus rule low on the sill. Nature may testify, nature doesn't write orders. We drafted the consent decree. Doris read clauses. I answered in the language our porch trusts. Attempts, 1 per night, none during hush. Windows, fence edge in daylight, candle windows with chalk frames due at dusk. Training rights, none without daylight signatures and chain of custody. Mail, fence shelf only, dreams void, dead don't sign. Storms, no easement, bridges require 2 signatures. Remedy, repair schedule, no grief tolls, apologies are not currency. Statute, claims before ledger day 1 are time barred unless attached to a current repair. Sunset clause, if the woods posts 90-90, consecutive compliant nights, porch arbitration dissolves and the house resumes ordinary quiet. Future disputes start at fence with visitors' ledger. Bradley added his inch line. Law. Inches remain 2-2. No float in storm. Venue is porch. Fence is mouth. Sheriff rings own bell. We clipped the draft decree to the fence with a clothespin that sounded like a tiny gate finding its conscience. The treeline breathed colder, higher court arriving. The ridge spoke in the long vowels of stone. The river answered in paragraphs. Night wrote her signature in shade along our eaves. Amasai recognized, Doris said evenly. Orders belong to roofs. The woods tried its last good argument, continuing grief. A window rose showing Crystal asleep in Memphis, turned toward a wall that had learned our breathing. My tongue tried to sign itself.
Molly Baker.
Doris touched the foil cool eye and the cold stood me up. I opened the minute book to hush and signed out her name for 1 safe second, set it into the room and returned the key at once. I wrote under it, grief is weather inside, not an easement outside. The hourglass emptied and the woods had to file or fail. Clerk voice came back, paper clean. Offer, consent decree accepted with strikeouts. A, training set rights retained for safety. B, sunset requires 365 nights. C, grief toll discretionary. Bradley snorted like a man who's repaired fences at midnight. That's 3 teeth where it asked for gum, he said. We countered in red pencil. Asterisk asterisk. A, training rights equals none. Only checked out samples with daylight, pulse, witness, and return at DUE. Asterisk asterisk B, sunset at 90 nights. Audit may extend to 120 if repairs fail. Asterisk asterisk C, grief toll equals void. Grief is room, not road. We added a forbearance clause for when neighbors need the porch louder than our rules.
The court rejects this motion.
Porch can break hush to save a pulse. Ledger notes it. Woods keeps its 1 attempt elsewhere. 2 signatures required, house and law. Afternoon shaved itself down to honest heat. The DUE flag flicked back pay on time. A paper slid back across the fence. Consent decree signed conditional.
See you, Weatherhound.
Conditions. 1, statute of limitations acknowledged from ledger day 1. 2, training rights only with chain of custody. 3, sunset at 120 nights with
Molly
audit.
Baker.
4, grief toll void. 5, forbearance honored when pulse at risk. 120 is the county's way of rounding 90 to a quarter, Bradley said. I can live with that if you can.
Hush hour.
Doris tied the ribbon and set the decree where the hinge could learn the new swing. Conditional peace is still scheduled, she said. We stamped the decree filed, porch venue, and the appeal dismissed in part with Bradley's time-barred stamp where the past had been trying to eat today. We added 4 lines low on the sill while the dog approved by breathing like a metronome you can pet. Time is a fence too. Old debts don't eat new days. Nature may testify. IT doesn't write orders. Sunset is earned in nights, not begged in words. Hush hour came on time like payroll. We spoke weather and shapes. The minute book kept our keys. The woods honored its one attempt. A single window at the tree line showing yesterday asking for today's keys. I lifted the kindness jar, thanked into glass, and watched it fold into ordinary night. After hush, the woods clerk voiced, edges sanded down by schedule. Appeal partially dismissed. Consent decree filed with conditions. Statute of limitations posted from ledger day 1. Sunset set at 120 compliant nights, subject to audit. Training sets limited to checked out samples with returns at DUE. Grief toll
See you, Weatherhound.
Forbearance clause noted for pulses at risk. See you between weather. Bradley tipped his hat, law pleased without bragging. Doris set the hourglass on the windowsill where the morning could wind it. We wrote 2 last lines where only shins and honest dogs read. Peace is a clock we wind together. If night appeals, day answers with a schedule. Before bed, I pressed 2 fingers to the foil over my sternum. Creep cold held. The dog rolled so more spine touched paste, notarizing sleep. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge. Lids on 5-7. In a house that now had a decree to hang its quiet on and a county that treats time like a fence. Real, visible, and not for sale. By late morning, the porch looked like a courthouse after a good audit, sun in squares, dust where nickels of time decide to sit. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the wood, not the woods, would memorize it. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission. Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit, IT can't borrow the keys. Visitors sign the fence, not the door.
Weatherhound.
Apologies are not currency, repairs are. Storm is a visitor, house is a resident. Quiet title lives at the sill. Signatures live in daylight. Dreams don't take delivery. Voices are property, we claim ours. Privilege against self-incantation. Arbitration's remedy is schedule, not surrender. Time is a fence too. Old debts don't eat new days. Sunset is earned in nights, not begged in words. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and set 3 tools on the rail like punctuation that only shows up when the story keeps its promises. A clipboard labeled Compliance LOG, a pad titled Notice of Noncompliance/Cure, and a brass pocket metronome that ticks at exactly hush. Decrees signed, he said. Now we count. Doris arrived with her brown bag and the smile teachers get when the final is mostly grading. She set out colored tabs, green on time, amber late, red violation, a carpenter's pencil, and a small tin stamped cure period. She clipped up a fresh name ladder. Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence Oath Title Notary Mail Replevin Arbitration Appeal Limitations Decree Compliance Cure. Then she chalked low where shins and honest dogs read first.
The court rejects this motion.
Peace is counted, not felt. Violations get cure, not drama. Forbearance saves pulse, not pride. We opened the compliance log tonight 1 post decree and posted the day's schedule like peril. DUE breeze dry sill. 1 attempt night / none
See
during
you,
hush.
Weatherhound.
Mail at fence. No training without sign out. The DUE flag flicked on time, paid, and we stuck a green tab on the line so the hinge could learn what passing looks like. Before lunch, the Woods filed a good faith gesture, a small placard at the tree line, clerk plain, counting toward sunset. The dog thumped his tail once, receipt accepted. At 2:11 p.m., the tree line tried efficiency too hard. 2 windows in 10 minutes, both daylight, both at the fence edge. One postcard path we could keep, 1 church basement we couldn't. We stamped received, fence on the postcard and void on the basement. Doris set an amber tab for overenthusiasm. Bradley wrote caution, no penalty. Even monsters need to learn pacing. Late afternoon, the Woods slipped. A practice knock sounded under the porch 20 minutes before hush, not mimicry, but cadence, like a kid tapping a drum outside a music store. Doris checked the decree. 1 attempt per night means 1. Practice invoices us, she said, already filling the pad. Notice of non-compliance 5:39 p.m. extra cadence pre-hush. Cure. Resume 1 attempt. Credit tonight's to practice. No attempt after hush. Deadline next dusk. We clipped the notice to the fence. Rang 2 short, 1 long. Bradley answered from inches. The tree line made the paper shuffling sound it uses when it chooses not to argue. The practice stopped. On the log we stuck amber, right arrow green, cured before it mattered. Hush hour posted like a bell tower. We spoke weather and shapes.
See you,
the minute
Weatherhound.
book kept our keys. True to the cure, the Woods skipped its night attempt. The hour felt earned instead of empty. We set a small paid stamp on the hush line because the sound helps tired ribs behave. Near 10, the rule we'd been saving for broke the night open. Tires on gravel, too fast. A light tearing sideways. Then the long hurt metal makes when it stops doing its job. The dog stood, all paced forgotten. Past the birches, a car had kissed a ditch hard. A second voice tried to be brave for a younger one. I'm okay, a teenager said, meaning I'm not. Doris's hand was already on the forbearance clause in the decree. Porch may break hush to save pulse. Ledger notes it. Woods keeps its 1 attempt elsewhere. 2 signatures. Bradley raised his dash bell, 2 short, 1 long. I answered 1 long, 2 short. Law and house in quorum. Doris chalked low while we moved. Forbearance used night, purpose, pulse. Woods owes silence while pulse is saved. We carried warrant of hand and the portable ring to the fence and built a bridge. House inside the ring, sheriff at inches, neighbor space beyond. Stay where the bell can see you, Doris told the teens. They did, shaking, eyes huge. The older had a cut on the scalp and a shoulder that didn't sit right. The younger had terror arranged like algebra across the face. We kept room even outside. Names inside teeth. Breath counted. Shoulders to hinge you carry with you. Bradley wrapped and braced. I held and counted. Doris set the compliance log on the fence shelf and wrote hush broken
See
for
you,
pulse.
Weatherhound.
Woods silent / no attempt. The Woods obeyed. No voices, no windows, just the honest night of insects and a wind that knows what stitches are for. EMS found us by the bell exchange. You folks did right, one said. We didn't answer with names, we answered with forbearance and a clipboard. When the ambulance left, Doris ticked the clause paid with a little stamp. Bradley slid a tin of peppermint to the shelf, wages for fear. On the log we wrote low where tomorrow's ankles will read it. Hush keeps quiet, forbearance saves pulse. Both get receipts. The next afternoon, the woods returned the favor in writing. A card. 1 attempt credited. We stuck a green tab so the hinge would hear the sound of good behavior. Then came the test that felt like old life in a new suit. The phone buzzed Crystal. I heard about a wreck out your way, she said. Melissa's neighbor, maybe. Are you okay? Her voice carried pulse, not keys. I kept room around my reply. On schedule, forbearance clause works. She huffed a laugh that made my chest choose to be soft. I don't know what that is, she said, but say it again. Forbearance works. Okay, she said. Watered the plant, still alive. We hung up with the room intact and the decree a little more real.
The court rejects this motion.
Mid-afternoon, a RED moment. A window rose at the tree line with my name printed across the glass like a subpoena. It spoke in the clerk tone, training set request, retain Roman for safety. Bradley didn't wait. He tapped RED. I filled a non-compliance. Violation 307 p.m. Training request without sign out. Cure. Withdraw request. Delete cached name. Acknowledge chain of custody only. Deadline. Immediate. Verified at DUE. We clipped it to the fence. The DUE flag flicked exactly once, the small tug that means deleted. The window cleared to ordinary shade. I swapped RED for green and wrote cured in a hand the wood would trust. Toward evening, the woods tried contempt in the shabbiest way, barking from the tree line in a dog voice 10% wrong. Our dog didn't answer. He looked at me and then at the paste line like, we've posted what matters. I rang the handbell one short, not a pattern, just a note like tapping a gavel where you live. The false bark dissolved into insect law. We added 4 lines low on the sill while the day cooled into the right kind of dark. Peace is counted, not felt. Violations get cure, not drama. Hush breaks only to save pulse. If the woods behaves, we stamp paid. Hush hour posted. We spoke weather and shapes. The woods honored its credit and made no attempt. The hour felt like a porch that knows its job. Night's joyous thump landed on the usual beam. Then the woods clerk voiced, cleaner than it used to be.
The court rejects
Compliance
this motion.
log received. Practice cadence credited. Night attempt skipped. Forbearance clause honored. Silence rendered during pulse rescue. Training request withdrawn. Cache deleted at DUE. Counting towards sunset continues. See you between weather. Bradley tipped his hat like a man who's decided to keep being sheriff tomorrow. Doris set the pocket metronome on the windowsill so the house could learn a tick it could trust. We wrote 2 last lines where only shins and honest dogs read. Sunset is a habit we make together. When contempt shows up, we hand IT a cure. Before sleep, I pressed 2 fingers to the foil over my sternum. Creak cold held. The dog rolled so more spine-touched paste, notarizing rest. I slept with my shoulder toward the hinge. Lids on 5-7, in a house that now keeps peace by counting. With a county that measures mercy the way you measure inches. And a woods that, tonight, chose the green tab on its own. By late morning, the porch looked like a courthouse after the last case. Sun in settled squares, dust where nickels of time decide to nap. The dog lay spine on paste, nose toward the birches, guarding by pretending not to. I read the sill so the wood, not the woods, would carry it one more time. This door is a wall. This name is withdrawn. This kindness is not a door. Fair is a lure. Home is a window due at dusk. Relief is a room, not a purchase. Masks have timers. Keys have ledgers. Phones are windows we don't lease. We decline favorites we never had. Emergency is not permission.
This motion.
Mercy requires 2 signatures. Emergencies cross by bridge, not door. Stories are rooms. Porch is summary. Hush hour, no names after dusk. Audit is love with a calendar. Yesterday can visit, IT can't borrow the keys. Visitors sign the fence, not the door. Apologies are not currency, repairs are.
Weatherhound.
Storm is a visitor. House is a resident. Quiet title lives at the sill. Signatures live in daylight. Dreams don't take delivery. Voices are property, we claim ours. Privilege against self-incantation. Arbitration's remedy is schedule, not surrender. Time is a fence too. Old debts don't eat new days. Sunset is earned in nights, not begged in words. Peace is counted, not felt. Sheriff Bradley idled at the road and set 3 tools on the rail like punctuation that retires with dignity. A ledger titled Sunset Tally, Night 120. A brass key envelope stamped surrender, and a wooden gavel that had never once raised its voice. Night 120 tonight, he said. If the woods keep schedule, we file sunset. After that, quiet reverts to ordinary and the county goes back to inches and porches, not decrees. Doris arrived with her brown bag and the smile teachers saved for graduation. From it she laid out colored tabs, green for kept, amber for cautioned, RED for cured. Then a ribbon-tied satisfaction of decree blank at the signature lines. A mason jar labeled ordinary light, and a tiny corked vial of bark dust marked archive.
The court rejects this
one
motion.
last name ladder. Doris Roman Sheriff House Hush Audit Fence Oath Title Notary Mail Replevin Arbitration Appeal Limitations Decree Compliance Sunset. Then chalked low where shins and honest dogs read first. Sunset is a receipt, not a spell. Quiet rejoins the house.
Weatherhound.
Rules can retire, habits stay. We walk the sunset tally. Pages stamped paid in the small, satisfying way men and hinges believe. Nights 142 clean green. 43 got amber extra window, caution. 44 green again. 73 had red right arrow cured training request withdrawn at DUE. The rest green like a field kept by fences. Doris clicked the pencil down and wrote on the inside cover. Counting made peace visible. The woods filed no papers that morning. It sent work instead. The DUE flag flicked right on schedule. Breeze returned. East sill dry, creek path harmless. We stamped paid for the day shift and set the stamp on the rail so the hinge could eavesdrop on the noise of earned things. At noon, Old Man Jennings shuffled up, hat in hand, to set 2 jars of beans on the fence shelf and sign thanks for the quiet in the visitor's ledger. His eyes did their private arithmetic at the white line, the bell, the DUE box, small county tools that had kept a monster tired. Whatever you all did, he said, kept my calves sleeping like they paid the mortgage. He tipped the hat to the fence, not the door, and walked home with a dignity that doesn't need receipts but likes them anyway.
The court rejects this motion.
Afternoon heated flat as a griddle. The phone buzzed crystal, and we managed what we've learned to manage, room, not door. Therapist says habits beat willpower, she said. You sound like a habit now. I laughed without borrowing a window. Audit posted, I said. She breathed softer. Watered the plant, she added. It keeps choosing to live. We hung up with some inches returned to both of us. Before dusk, the woods made its last try at grand gestures. A window rose at the fence edge showing Molly as a girl on a porch that might have been ours if time had learned to behave. She held a knife and a hope and looked toward a man who wasn't a door. The picture smelled like walnuts and atonement. My hands warmed toward unhelpful places. Doris tapped the foil cool eye. Creek cold stood me up. I lifted the kindness jar, unscrewed the lid, and spoke into glass. Thank you for reminding us we were children once. Lid back on. Window folded into what ordinary shade does best, mind its business. We set the table for hush hour as if it were a graduation program. Bradley placed the gavel on the rail. Doris set the ordinary light jar where the hinge might want a souvenir. I laid the satisfaction of decree where the house could read its own diploma. Hush hour posted like payroll, one last ceremonial time. We spoke in weather and shapes. The minute book kept our keys. The woods honored its pledge, no attempt during hush. The hour clicked past on the pocket metronome's steady tick. The dog sighed the way a book closes because it has decided not to be dramatic. After hush exactly once, the woods raised its one allowed attempt at the tree line. A window the size of a receipt, blank as paper, then filled itself with 3 words, see you, weather. I rang the hand bell one short, not a pattern, just acknowledgement. The window folded.
See you, weatherhound.
The tree line remembered what trees are for. Night's joyous thump landed on the usual beam, routine, not omen. Bradley flipped the last page of the sunset tally, set a green tab, and read like court when it smiled on people instead of paperwork. 120 nights compliant. Doris lifted the satisfaction of decree. I signed Roman, house, daylight. Doris signed Doris, house. Bradley printed sheriff, law inches only, and notarized with the weary flourish of a man who prefers fence posts to speeches. We slid the decree into the key envelope stamped surrender. Doris tied it with red twine, wrote title returns to quiet across the flap, and set it on the fence shelf. The woods clerk voiced from the tree line, as plain as paper and for the first time almost calm. Consent decree satisfied. Keys not required. Sunset accepted. Training set rights remain limited. Chain of custody acknowledged. Porch arbitration dissolved. Disputes, if any, begin at fence. See you between weather. Bradley lifted the gavel and tapped the rail once. Case closed, he said, and for once didn't add inches or jokes. We began the retiring of tools the way you shut down a fair you loved. The DUE box
The court rejects this motion.
Because schedules are just good manners, but the paid stamp went in the drawer for days that earn it without needing law. The portable ring slid under the couch like a spare coat. The minute book lost its capitals and kept its grocery handwriting. The notary seal went back to the county, which prefers stamps to miracles. The recusal form stayed pinned, where the hinge can keep learning no judge wears our dead without having to be told. At the fence, we mounted a permanent plank. Fence is our mouth. Visitors sign, neighbors share. We wrote the last 2 lines low on the sill where shins and honest dogs read. We don't win with secrets, we win with schedule. Ordinary quiet is enough. The dog rolled so more spine-touched pace, notarizing rest. Wind worked the birches without agenda. Somewhere down county, a radio gave the right song to the wrong hour and nobody minded. Morning came as if it always intended to. I brewed coffee without turning it into a ritual. I opened the door like a door, not a courtroom. The phone buzzed crystal and we practiced the habit we'd earned. Sleep, she asked. On schedule, I said. Me too, she said, surprised. The plant decided again. We could decide too, I said. No ceremony, just fence, porch, rooms, Memphis, or here we keep hush because it's a kindness to our own names. She was quiet the way people are when their shoulders put down something they didn't know they were carrying. I can visit, she said. Fence first, porch when it's a porch. Fence first, I agreed. Bring beans if you like. Jennings started a trend.
The
She
court
laughed,
rejects this
human
motion.
ledger. See you between weather. I hung the 2 kitchen keys on their nails. Mailbox for mail that minds fences, and gate for neighbors who don't need doors to mean well. The 3rd nail, door, stayed empty and content. Doors don't need to show off when walls keep their promises. Before I stepped inside, I pressed 2 fingers to the foil cool eye over my sternum. It had cooled enough to forget itself, which is how you know a tool has retired well. I tucked it in a drawer beside Dad's old nail and the tiny vial of bark dust labeled archive. The house learned the new swing in the hinge. Less parade, more home. Out past the birches, the woods moved like a large animal that has remembered its mostly weather. It will test again in small, legal ways. Nature does. When it does, the fence will ring, the porch will answer, the ledger will open, and no ghosts will be hired for judges. Most days there'll be beans and radios and a dog pretending to sleep while he keeps the paste line ledger. Sunset wasn't a spell. It was a receipt, paid in nights. We keep it the only way schedules stay kept together at the fence by inches, counting what counts and letting the rest be weather.